Chapter 41-23. Before he came, Zichen already had his own idea, but the matter involved too many people and his words were far from enough. Now, since the holy sage had asked for his opinion, Zichen would certainly say whatever he wanted to say. I think this is a good thing, because there are many experts in the Lost Clan. Once they join our Holy Thunder Clan, it will be of great help to the overall strength of our Holy Thunder Clan. Zichen said, when the Holy Moon Clan attacked the Lost World, they suffered heavy losses. That's why they chose to let everyone in. If we can really accept them, it's equivalent to having a big force comparable to the Holy Clan out of thin air. That's true, but have you thought about the consequences? Lady said, such a big force, once used by us, it will be of help. But if one day it's not used by us and is used by others, it will be a disaster for our Holy Thunder Clan. The spiritual ancestor and the pulse ancestor nodded repeatedly. Zichen said, I haven't considered this question, nor have I thought deeply about it, because the logic is the same. In our sacred Thunder tribe, there are many big families. Usually, they help us, but what if they betray us one day? The pulse ancestor said, that's impossible. They are the native Holy Thunder Clan. It's impossible for them to rebel. Zichen turned back and said, I mean, what if they rebel? The pulse ancestor said proudly, then we're not afraid. With the holy sage in charge, they won't dare to rebel. Zichen smiled and said, you see, the reason is the same. With such a strong support, if they really want to rebel, it's not a problem for us to consider, but for the holy sages. The pulse ancestor was stunned and then realized that this kid only cared about bringing people and did not care about maintaining stability. He was obviously shirking responsibility. But after thinking about it carefully, it seemed to be true. There were so many holy sages in the Holy Thunder Clan, what did they need to be afraid of? The holy sages could not enter that place. If they could enter, they would have already conquered it. Lady continued to ask, then how do you arrange them? Zichen said, give them a suitable area in the Holy Thunder Clan. For the time being, set it as a forbidden area. No one from the Holy Thunder Clan is allowed to enter. With the passage of time, the estrangement will eventually be eliminated. At that time, everyone will be able to accept the existence of the bereaved. Moreover, both sides can even coexist peacefully. Lady was silent for a moment and said, your idea is good, but whether it can be implemented or not, there are still many problems and details to consider. There are even many difficulties. Continue to work hard. Zichen was puzzled and asked, what do you mean, my lord? Do you support it or not? Without waiting for Lady to answer, the bloodline ancestor said, you silly boy, of course we will support you, but our support is not enough. After all, the Holy Thunder Clan still has a real leader. If you want to make this happen, you have to ask Lei Zhengke and the others. Zichen nodded. This was indeed not a small matter, and it required the agreement of many parties. Lady said, I will release some news about this matter and see what the clan's attitude is. As for you, you can go and do your own things first. This is not something that can be done overnight. Zichen bid farewell and left. He did not go back immediately, but went to various channels to monitor and meet the leaders in charge. After Zichen left, the spirit ancestor, who had been silent all this time, said, can this be done? The bloodline ancestor said, of course it can. This is a great thing for the Holy Thunder Clan. Besides, the three of us have agreed, so there will definitely be no problem. Unexpectedly, the spirit ancestor did not look at the bloodline ancestor at all, but looked at Lady. Lady said with certainty, of course it won't work. It won't work. The bloodline ancestor's eyes widened and he said in disbelief, how is that possible? This is a great thing. You'll know when you see it. After meeting the leaders and having a meal with everyone under Lei Mang's introduction, Zichen returned to the Lost World again. Lei Wusheng had already prepared a team of 5,000 people for Zichen. Among them, there were 3 core members. Next, Zichen led the team, including Lei Wusheng himself, and went straight into the depths. The Holy Thunder Clan once again dispatched a large team, which attracted the attention of many forces. Many spies were following them silently. Along the way, everyone did not explore the opportunities at all. They just sped up and seemed to have a very clear goal. Some spies gradually found some clues and went forward, overtaking the Holy Thunder Clan's team. But after discovering the Vestigial Clan's encampment, they stopped and retreated. Obviously, the Vestigial Clan's encampment was right in front of the Holy Thunder Clan. Once the two sides met, a battle was bound to break out. The 5,000 people of the Holy Thunder Clan might be destroyed because of this. Many people were waiting to watch a good show. But when they were about to meet the Vestigial Clan's encampment, the Holy Thunder Clan suddenly stopped. In the eyes of others, it was obvious that the Holy Thunder Clan had discovered the existence of the encampment. But at such a close distance, even if the Holy Thunder Clan stopped, it seemed to be useless. The Vestigial Clan inside would definitely come out. A battle was still unavoidable. But the fact was the opposite. Just when the Holy Thunder Clan arrived, the Vestigial Clan all retreated and left the encampment. Then, everyone from the Holy Thunder Clan settled in. As the news spread, it caused an uproar. Many people remembered the conversation between Zi Chen and the Vestigial Clan. Did both sides really reach a consensus? No battle broke out between the two sides, and everyone's expectations were disappointed. Soon, news spread that the Holy Thunder Clan had made a major discovery under the city. This gave many forces a glimmer of hope. They, who had been constantly fighting, chose the same method as Zi Chen, and wanted to seek peace with the Vestigial Clan. But no one knew whether it was because they lacked Zi Chen's combat power or Zi Chen's eloquence, but none of the forces succeeded. Instead, large-scale battles broke out one after another. During this period, another all-out battle broke out. The Vestigial Clan attacked with all their might, and the various forces were defeated. When they encountered Zi Chen's forces, they would take a detour. The various forces suffered heavy losses, but the Holy Thunder Clan was still mining. For a time, all kinds of curses were heard. Not only in the Lost World, but in the Holy Spirit Realm, such curses also existed. Even in the Holy Thunder Clan, there were such voices. This is too shameless. As a member of the Holy Thunder Clan, I feel ashamed. Why didn't we fight the enemy to the death? Why did we compromise with the enemy regardless of the death of our compatriots? Now they want to bring the enemy back. This is simply wishful thinking. Zi Chen is leading the wolf into the house. He has ulterior motives. He wants to destroy our Holy Thunder Clan. Chapter 41-24. The resources underground had been excavated, and with the Little Spirit's guidance, the direction was naturally correct. For this, Zi Chen paid another 20 soul-gathering crystals as a reward. After excavating the resources, Zi Chen called Lei Lan over. At the same time, he brought her to meet Tasha and introduced them to each other. In the next few days, Tasha stayed with Lei Lan. Zi Chen left the city and walked towards the dense forest outside the city. Tess was waiting there. After seeing Zi Chen, Tess waved his hand and a light appeared, shielding the surroundings. Clearly, he had something important to say. Zi Chen walked forward and disappeared into the barrier. The people of the Holy Moon Clan could no longer investigate. After hesitating for a while, Tess said, "Zi Chen, I hope that no matter what the result is this time, we can't let Her Excellency get hurt. Otherwise, the consequences will be unimaginable." Zi Chen nodded and said, "Don't worry. Since I brought her out, I will naturally send her back safely." Tess shook his head and said, "No, you don't understand how much pressure Her Excellency is under this time. If something happens, no one can bear the consequences." Zi Chen patted Tess's shoulder and said, "Don't worry, I know what I'm doing." Zi Chen could feel Tess's worry. He also knew the severity of the matter. If something really happened to Tasha in the Saint Spirit domain, then for the Holy Thunder Clan, it would completely cut off the path of resource extraction in the Lost World. Zi Chen was not that stupid. To be safe, Zi Chen let Tasha stay with Lei Lan for 10 days. After 10 days, Zi Chen, who had arranged everything, left the Lost World with Lei Lan. After returning to the Moonstar, Zi Chen took Lei Lan to find Holy Sage Lei Di immediately. During this time, Lei Lan looked around, as if she was very curious about everything. After arriving at Lei Di's residence and seeing him for the first time, Lei Lan's expression changed. The three holy sages also looked at Lei Lan in surprise. Lei Di only glanced at Lei Lan before looking away. "Have you decided?" Zichen nodded. "I've decided." "Then do as you say, but don't be too optimistic. See more, listen more, think more, then make a decision," Lei Di said. Zichen looked hesitant. Lei Di said, "Between you and me, let's be frank." Zichen asked, "What if, and I mean what if, there are suddenly some strange races in my world? Will there be a problem?" Lei Di didn't answer, but asked, "Are there not many strange races in your world?" What Lei Di said was true. In Zichen's world, there were all kinds of people. Actually, all the races had them now. Zichen immediately understood Lei Di's meaning and thanked him with cupped fists. This was the Lord's tacit agreement. Even if the worst happened, he would have the Lord's support. Lei Di waved his hand and shot out a beam of energy, which landed on Lei Lan's body. "Now it's more alike." Lei Lan's eyes were filled with shock. "Let's go." After saying goodbye to the three lords, Zichen turned and walked toward the door. Lei Lan followed him cautiously. She was very surprised that her trick was seen through in a single glance. There's nothing to be surprised about. He's Lei Lan's teacher. Of course, he knows his disciple, Zichen said with a smile. Tasha suddenly understood. "That's the Lord you were talking about?" Tasha asked, "An expert above the Holy Spirit level?" Zichen nodded and said, "That's right. They are also the most powerful existences in the world." While talking, Zichen took Tasha, who had changed into Lei Lan's appearance, and flew out of Luna. When they arrived outside of Luna, a light flashed in front of Zichen, and a flying ship appeared. After the two boarded the flying ship, Tasha couldn't suppress the excitement in her heart and cheered loudly. Fortunately, Zichen had isolated the surroundings early in the morning. Tasha looked out of the flying ship, and her eyes were filled with curiosity and shock. Because they were now walking in the starry sky and were surrounded by Xingchen. Zichen said, "Every Xingchen here is a world. Almost all of them are inhabited by humans." The flying ship cut through the void like a bolt of lightning. "This is where you live. It's really boundless," Tasha said in shock. "How many people are there in such a huge place?" "Countless. And this is only a part of it." Zichen said, "The place you live may be the size of one of the Xingchen in this world." As the flying ship moved forward, Zichen introduced the situation of the Saint Spirit realm to Tasha. When they arrived at the second star field, Zichen entered a city and took Tasha to eat some food. At the same time, he also introduced her to the currency of the Saint Spirit realm. Zichen didn't choose to teleport back directly because he wanted to give Tasha time to familiarize herself with the Saint Spirit realm so that she wouldn't make a fuss about everything. At the same time, he also explained the division of forces in the Saint Spirit realm to Tasha. "So there are so many forces." When Tasha heard this, she sighed with emotion. "In that case, the forces we have been fighting for hundreds of years are just one of the forces in the Saint Spirit realm?" "Yes. The Holy Moon clan is also one of the 4 holy clans." After hearing Zichen's explanation, Tasha understood the strength of the enemy and finally knew which forces had come this time. At the same time, she was also very glad that these forces were not united. Otherwise, it would be troublesome. Zichen didn't deliberately pursue time and speed, so his speed was not fast. This made many forces who were paying attention to him very puzzled. Why did Zichen, the leader, have such a refined interest? However, some people guessed the reason. The current Zichen could be said to be reviled by everyone and was unpopular. This was not only the case in the Saint Spirit realm, but also in the Holy Thunder clan. If he wanted the Vestigial clan to settle in the Holy Thunder clan, not to mention whether the world would agree or not, the Holy Thunder clan alone would not agree. This Zichen is really a guy who angers both men and gods. Last time, he was hunted down by the Holy Thunder clan. Doesn't he know that? Now, for a little bit of resources, not to mention his personal dignity, he has betrayed all the forces and colluded with the Vestigial clan. Shameless. This kind of person is extremely shameless. Fortunately, There are still people in the Holy Thunder clan who are deeply righteous and recognize Zi Chen's wild ambition. Otherwise, the entire Holy Thunder clan would have suffered huge losses because of this greedy guy. On the way back, they could hear such irrelevant remarks almost every time they stopped. In this regard, Zi Chen had no way to deal with it. Some of these words were naturally spread by the Holy Thunder clan, but if it weren't for the other forces adding fuel to the fire, it wouldn't have reached this level. Last time, he made the other forces suffer a great loss, and he led the Holy Thunder clan to a great harvest. Now, he wouldn't allow others to hit him when he was down and add fuel to the fire a few times. Perhaps it wouldn't change anything, but it would make them feel better. Chapter 41-25. Sitting on the airship again, Tasha, who was still in Lei Lan's appearance, said, "Aren't you angry?" Zi Chen shook his head and smiled. "What's there to be angry about? They've taken all the good stuff. Why can't they just shut the door and curse them?" Tasha said, "Is this a matter of shutting the door? They're clearly cursing in front of you." Zi Chen said, "You know that they're cursing in front of me. Since I can see that they're doing it on purpose, should I go up and beat them up or kill them directly? That'll give me more excuses. Moreover, those people are too weak. They're clearly sending themselves to their deaths. Why should I help them?" Through this, Zi Chen also learned about the current situation of the Holy Thunder clan. It seemed that the forces that didn't want him to become stronger were not just those who had a grudge with him. Perhaps other than those few friendly clans, the other forces didn't want to see him rise. Looking at the entire Holy Spirit domain, the other great forces naturally didn't want to see the Holy Thunder clan produce a great Zi Chen. If he became stronger, the Holy Thunder clan would become stronger. Why were there so many voices of opposition in the Holy Thunder clan? In fact, this wasn't difficult to understand because those people didn't care whether the Holy Thunder clan became stronger or weaker. What they cared about was whether they would be threatened. Obviously, his rise had made many people feel threatened, so they didn't want to facilitate this. However, Zi Chen didn't care because the Holy Thunder clan still had a leader. As long as he said something, this matter would be settled. Of course, there were also some people who spoke up for him during this period, but they were quickly drowned out by more opinions. After all, those who supported him were still in the minority. For the rest of the journey, Tasha said that there was no need to visit other places. She already had a good understanding of this world and could just head straight to the Holy Thunder clan. This was because when Zi Chen was being cursed, the Vestigial clan was also the target of everyone's hatred. In their words, both sides seemed to be in a situation where one side would die. Therefore, Tasha was full of worries about the future. Zi Chen returned to the Holy Thunder clan and took Tasha directly from the outer area to the inner area. The huge thunder sea made Tasha widen her horizons again. He brought Tasha to the core city, and the first thing he did was to see the city lord. The city lord was very warm towards Zi Chen and wasn't surprised by his return. During this period of time, there had been news about Zi Chen and his whereabouts. "Zi Chen, have you heard the recent rumors? The current situation is very unfavorable for you." The city lord personally poured tea for the two of them. Zi Chen didn't stand on ceremony with the city lord. Instead, he asked directly, "I wonder what the city lord thinks about letting the Vestigial clan attack the Holy Thunder clan?" The city lord said in surprise, "Is the news true?" Zi Chen nodded and said, "I came back this time to see everyone's opinions. If everyone agrees, then our Holy Thunder clan's progress in the Lost World will not be hindered." The city lord fell silent and fell into contemplation. Zi Chen took a sip of tea and waited patiently. Lei Lan sat to the side, looking indifferent. This was Lei Lan's true character. Along the way, Zi Chen had warned her not to reveal anything, just in case, because they might not be able to return. Seeing Zi Chen sitting there and not leaving without giving him an answer, the city lord pondered and said, "I'm afraid this matter is inappropriate. Please speak clearly, city lord." Zi Chen smiled slightly. A few days ago, there were rumors about this matter, and there were great objections in the clan. After all, we belong to the same camp of the Holy Spirit domain. It's a great taboo to have contact with the Vestigial clan. If we bring the Vestigial clan to the Holy Thunder clan, I'm afraid it will cause a huge conflict, and maybe even lead to a civil war. The City Lord said, in the long run, this matter is inappropriate for the sake of the peace of the Holy Thunder clan. Zichen said, it's nothing more than those few clans who don't agree. I'm sure the City Lord knows best what they are thinking. It's nothing more than them wantonly spreading the news, thinking that many people don't agree, but in fact, there are only a few. I believe that with the City Lord's prestige, you can certainly arrange this matter properly. After all, once the Vestigial clan comes to our Holy Thunder clan, the title of the 4 great sacred clans may have to be changed. When that time comes, won't this be the greatest contribution in the world? The Tree of Lightning may even be rewarded, and the City Lord may be able to reach the sky in a single bound. Hearing this, the City Lord shook his head again and said, there are indeed many voices of opposition to this matter. According to my authority, there's really nothing I can do. To be honest, I also want to help this kind of good thing that can help the Holy Thunder clan grow stronger, but unfortunately, there's nothing I can do. Zichen looked at the City Lord and asked, it really won't work. The City Lord said helplessly and bitterly, it really won't work. Why don't you go up and ask again? Zichen nodded and said, all right then, I'll go and ask again. Leilan, the tea in the City Lord's mansion is very delicious. You can drink it for a while and wait for me to come back. While you're at it, see if anyone else has come to see the City Lord, and who they are. The City Lord smiled bitterly and said, Zichen, don't worry. No one dares to be biased in this kind of matter. Zichen left Tasha in the City Lord's mansion not because he didn't trust the City Lord, but because he didn't dare to let her meet Lei Zhengke, because the other party was the well-deserved number 1 person of the Holy Thunder clan. The camouflage set up by Lei Di might not be able to fool the other party. Zichen met Lei Zhengke very smoothly. The number 1 person of the Holy Thunder clan was also drinking tea. The tea's fragrance was overflowing, and it was obviously of the highest quality. The Holy Thunder clan was already in an uproar because of Zichen's matter, but the true number 1 person of the clan appeared to be very calm. Come, Zichen, have a cup of tea with me. Lei Zhengke waved his hand and motioned for Zichen to come over. Zichen sat next to Lei Zhengke. He wasn't here to drink tea, so he directly expressed his position. Zichen said, for the Vestigial clan to come to the Holy Thunder clan, there are only benefits and no harm for us. This is an excellent thing, Lei Zhengke said with a smile. Zichen, what do you think of the current Holy Thunder clan? Very good, one of the 4 great holy clans. Zichen said, although it hasn't reached the point where everyone is in awe of it, it's still a top force that no one dares to provoke. Lei Zhengke drank a cup of tea and said slowly, what if the Vestigial clan comes? What will happen to the Holy Thunder clan? Zichen said without hesitation, it will become the top force among the top forces. It will be able to suppress the other 3 clans and become the number 1 in the Holy Spirit world. Lei Zhengke said with a smile, you're wrong. At that time, the Holy Thunder clan will have many enemies out of thin air. Let's not talk about the distant ones, the closest ones are the 3 holy clans. The original alliance of the 4 great holy clans will also collapse because of our strength. At that time, there will only be 3 great alliances left. Moreover, there will be different voices in the clan. Over time, it will even affect the unity of the Holy Thunder clan. If the Holy Thunder clan is not united, what do you think the consequences will be? Chapter 41:26. If the Vestigial race doesn't come, we are the 4 holy clans. Although there are occasional conflicts, we are still allies. There are conflicts of interest between the clans, but we are still united in terms of right and wrong. Once the Vestigial race comes to the Holy Thunder clan, there will be conflicts in the clan first, and they will no longer be united. The 4 major alliances will be disbanded instantly, and we have to keep an eye on the Vestigial race to see if they betray us. What do you think we can benefit from? The lost world. Compared to the infinite troubles in the future, what are the current benefits? Zichen, it's not that this old man doesn't support you, but you're looking too far ahead and thinking too little, Lei Zhengke said earnestly. Lei Zhengke said earnestly, if you can overcome all of the difficulties mentioned above in the future, then I will agree to this matter of yours. But first, You have to promise that the future Holy Thunder Clan will be as united as it is now. How could Zi Chen dare to guarantee such a thing, even if he didn't think that the current Holy Thunder Clan was united? Fortunately, Lei Zhanke gave him a sentence to make his position clear. I understand. I will take care of the matters in the lost world. Zi Chen got up and left. Lei Zhanke looked at Zi Chen as he left, shook his head, and sighed. Your growth is still too slow. When Zi Chen arrived at the city lord's residence, Lei Lan was still drinking tea. Zi Chen called for Lei Lan to leave. The city lord smiled and said, I wish leader Zi Chen a great victory. Thanks. Zi Chen waved his hand without looking back, then pulled Lei Lan to his own world. During this time, Lei Lan looked at Zi Chen's expression and couldn't help but ask questions in her heart. Through transmission, Zi Chen arrived in his own world. The next moment, Zi Chen used the rules and brought Lei Lan back to his treehouse. This is my world. You can speak without worry, Zi Chen said. They didn't agree? Tasha asked. Zi Chen nodded and said, this is not beyond my expectations. The matter involves too many things, and the possibility of success is very small. In other words, it's impossible to succeed. Then what should we do? Tasha asked. After her experience in this world, she had already made a decision in her heart. She would bring her people here to live. This was because this world did not suppress their powers. Perhaps the Lost Clan would be able to break through the shackles and advance to the Holy Venerate realm after coming to the Saint Spirit realm. However, things seemed to be troublesome now because the Holy Thunder Clan actually disagreed. This is my world. It's big enough. The Holy Thunder Clan didn't agree to let you come here, but I can use my personal name to bring you here. From now on, you just need to live in my world, Zi Chen said. Before he came back, he already had this plan, and Lei Di had already agreed. Your world can accommodate all of us. Tasha was a little doubtful. Zi Chen said, can you stay here? I'll show you around. In this world, Zi Chen was the master. He could use the rules of this place at will. Therefore, he could take Tasha to explore the mountains and rivers without alerting others. Zi Chen's world was so big that Tasha was very surprised. With her sharp senses, she naturally knew that the trees below were all alive. Furthermore, their lives were connected in a special way, causing all the trees to seem like a single entity. Just talking about the problem of living, this place was enough to accommodate all the Lost Clan. Zi Chen said, in addition to this world, I have a way to open up another world within a world, which is more suitable for people who cultivate soul power. If we come here, will we have to live here forever? Tasha asked. Of course not. Zi Chen said with a smile, if you want, you can leave by teleportation at any time. However, I don't recommend you to do so in the early stages. You have to wait at least a few hundred years for everyone to slowly accept your existence. It won't be too late to leave then. Zi Chen pointed to the empty area below and said, at that time, I will draw out some cities for your people to live in. In the early stages, you have to adapt to this world first. When the time is right, I will set up some teleportation formations in these cities. You can teleport by yourself in my world, contact others, and even exchange resources. When everyone in this world recognizes you, you can go out. This is a matter of great importance. I have to go back and discuss it with my people, Tasha said. Okay. Zi Chen said, during this time, you can tour this world by yourself. If there is a place you like, remember to mark it and tell me. Zi Chen left Tasha behind. He returned to the city and went to see Jolina. Although the outside world was constantly cursing Zi Chen, the Tianwu world was still prosperous and lively. Many forces wanted to re-enter this place. Perhaps some of these people had discussed everything with Jolina before returning home and starting to curse. Zi Chen was not in the mood to guess these things. After asking Jolina about the situation, he gave a few more suggestions. The final decision was still in Jolina's hands. Whether or not to accept it was also up to her. Are you really going to bring the Vestigial Clan to the Holy Thunder Clan? After everything was explained, Jolina asked about the recent rumors. That is a huge force. After coming to the Holy Thunder Clan, it will increase the overall strength of the Holy Thunder Clan by a lot, Zichen said. Unfortunately, they won't agree, Jolina said regretfully. Zichen smiled. Even you can see that they won't agree. It seems that it won't work. Your current status in the Holy Thunder Clan is already very high. If you facilitate this, won't you soar to the sky? How will the others live? Jolina was still the one who saw things clearly. Of course, the concerns that Lei Zhengke mentioned did exist, but they were not the real reason. The main reason was the issue of balance. Even Lei Zhengke, the number one person in the Holy Thunder Clan, didn't want Zichen to rise so quickly. However, their move also gave Zichen a second option. This option was to bring all the vestigial clan into his world. Lei Di knew, Lei Zhengke knew, and even the city lord and the opposing forces were very clear about it. Why were they unwilling to see the vestigial clan enter the Holy Thunder Clan, but happy to see them enter Zichen's world? This was also related to benefits. Because entering the Holy Thunder Clan was a great merit. However, if Zichen was the only one who incorporated them, it would have nothing to do with the Holy Thunder Clan. Naturally, it would be impossible to get rewards from the Holy Thunder Clan. A few days later, Zichen learned about the latest developments in the world and returned with Tasha. However, this time, he didn't take the flying boat. Instead, he used his authority to take the transmission array directly. Chapter 41-27. After arriving at the Lost World, Zichen once again stepped onto the teleportation array. This time, he was directly teleported to the Blood Dragon Canyon. Then, he used Xiaolei's teleportation talisman and arrived at the city where the vestigial clan had already retreated. During this period, Tasha had been following him. Even after returning here, she did not give Zichen a clear answer. But Zichen was not in a hurry. As long as both sides maintained a friendly relationship, it would be a great thing for the Holy Thunder Clan's journey to the depths of the Lost World. Tasha left that day. Outside the city, Zichen sensed a powerful aura. It should be the vestigial clan who had come to pick up Tasha. Zichen went to check the harvest of the mineral vein. In the process of going underground, he felt a strong soul power aura. The crystals produced here were full of extremely strong soul aura. Although they were not as good as soul-gathering crystals, they were still rare resources. After Zichen went deep underground and communicated with a Thunder Imperial Holy Spirit named Jenny, he learned about the magical use of these soul crystals. Jenny came from the Jila clan and was said to be a direct descendant of the Jila clan. She was Grace's sister. The soul crystals here can greatly improve one's soul power. It is a rare opportunity. Although their soul power is not as good as the soul-gathering crystals of the Holy Talisman Masters, in terms of some magical uses, they are more valuable than soul-gathering crystals. Zichen quietly listened to Jila Jenny talk about the magical uses of the crystals without interrupting. Because whether one can become a Holy Talisman Master is no longer determined by talent. We can use soul crystals to cultivate the day after tomorrow. Jila Jenny said. Moreover, we named it Soul Life Crystal, which means that it is a crystal that can change one's fate. Zichen's expression changed slightly and said, in that case, as long as the crystals here are mined, the Holy Thunder Clan will have more Holy Talisman Masters in the future. Jila Jenny smiled and emphasized, not a few, but a lot. Sir, this is also a great opportunity. It is not inferior to the resources of the Dragon Fiend at all. Zichen was shocked. In such a large resource land, the little elf only asked for 20 soul-gathering crystals. This seemed to be inconsistent with her character. Tasha returned to the core residence of the Lost World. On the same day, several elders came to ask her about the situation. Tasha, who had been holding back all the way, couldn't hold back her emotions anymore. She smiled happily. She was very satisfied with this trip. 100% satisfied. When the elders saw Tasha smiling so happily, they all smiled. It seemed that the effect was not bad. Tasha said, their world has no power to suppress them. There are beings that are stronger than the Holy Spirit. Once we reach that world, I think we will be able to see someone like the Holy Spirit. Are you sure? An old man asked. I saw it with my own eyes. Tasha said, however, The people there are not friendly to us, and Zichen's Holy Thunder Clan doesn't welcome us either. The expressions of the elders all changed. Since they didn't welcome him, why were they so happy? Tasha continued, but Zichen has a world, and his world is big enough for all of us to go there. Zichen has his own world. How is that possible? An old man couldn't believe it. Tasha said, the place we live is nothing more than a big planet in their eyes. Zichen has a planet like this. It's very big. I went to see it myself. There won't be a problem. Zichen's force is called the Holy Thunder Clan. In that huge world, there are no less than 10 forces that can be on par with the Holy Thunder Clan. So, our previous choice was right. If a full-scale war really breaks out, I'm afraid that our world will be lost in a few months under their unity. This is under the premise that the Holy Spirit can't come to this world. If the Holy Spirit can come here, the Holy Moon Clan from hundreds of years ago is enough to destroy us. Tasha paused to give the elders some time to digest the news. After a while, she continued, in fact, this is an excellent thing for us because we didn't join the Holy Thunder Clan. In the future, we don't need to listen to the arrangements of the Holy Thunder Clan. We entered Zichen's world because of the agreement between us. So, our relationship is equal. There is no leadership, and no one can command us. Tasha thought about it all the way and couldn't think of a better result. Is that world reliable? An old man asked. It's hard to say at the moment, but it's definitely reliable in the future. Because in my perception, that world is still growing. Even so, it's not a problem to accommodate us now. As for what it will achieve in the future, no one knows. Tasha said, and that world is open to the public. As long as we gradually get familiar with everything there, we can go to other places in that world through his world. This is what Zichen promised. He won't interfere with our lives, even if all of us leave his world. Is that Zichen reliable? The elders were still worried. Of course he is. Or rather, there is no one more reliable than him, Tasha said confidently. Why him? An old man was puzzled. There are many forces and many people. Why do you insist on that, Zichen? Tasha smiled. This time, her smile was very mysterious. Like many times before, she avoided this topic. You will know when the time comes. Then, when will we leave? When everything is over, Tasha said. Tasha said, if I didn't choose the wrong person, then everything here will come to an end. Oh, right, we can't just sit around during this time. We need to gather the resources for our growth. Leaving the clan is only the first step. Even if we go to that world, we still need to survive. Also, we need to communicate with the other 2 clans. Asterisk 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 asterisk. The news of Zichen's discovery of the second mineral vein was leaked. After knowing the function of the soul life crystal, the world was shocked again. But this time, no one ran over to look for trouble. In fact, as the major forces went deeper, each of them had their own discoveries. During this period, they found some rare resources, which were not few in number. But the discoveries that were as eye-catching as the Holy Thunder Clans were rare. All the forces were searching for resources with all their might. During this period, there were constant battles. Only the Holy Thunder Clan was quiet. This made many forces unhappy, so they tried to negotiate with the Vestigial Clan. They were even willing to give up some resources. Chapter 41:28. The battle was very fierce, and there were casualties every day. The Vestigial Clan seemed to have gone mad. No matter what those forces said or what promises they made, the Vestigial Clan did not agree and attacked even more fiercely. Zichen was very clear about this because Tasha had been to the outside world once and knew very well what kind of attitude the various forces had towards them. This so-called friendship was just a temporary peace they wanted. Therefore, those forces who had the intention to deceive were miserable. The Holy Thunder Clan led by Zichen was not affected at all. During this period, the Holy Thunder Clan continued to send people over. It was worth mentioning that the Holy Moon Clan, who had been rarely seen, began to appear one after another this time, looking for opportunities. Zichen walked among the various mineral veins every day and occasionally went out to explore. The task of carefully inspecting the resources fell on the little sprite's head. After all, it was more efficient. Once a large resource was found, little fairy would come back to Zichen. Then, Zichen would only need to pay some soul-gathering crystals to get the mineral vein. The holy spirits belonging to the Holy Thunder Clan were constantly moving towards the lost world. Except for the core disciples who were out on missions, almost everyone else who could come over had come. Among them, the few clans who were obviously hostile to Zichen were not included. They were led by Lei Zhenghongtian and entered and exited through the lost sky crystal of the Holy Moon Clan. Without Zichen giving them permission, they could not use the transmission formation. After the core disciples who could be dispatched had been transferred, Zichen transferred people through the clans he was on good terms with. Now, the Holy Thunder Clan had found 5 large resource lands and needed a lot of manpower. In the end, even the 1-star and 2-star holy spirits on the periphery were transferred by Zichen. They were mainly responsible for mining. So far, the Holy Thunder Clan was the biggest winner. There were not many battles, but they had obtained the most resources. Many forces were slowly moving forward. They had paid the price of blood to move forward. However, the Sacred Thunder Tribe was moving forward very easily. When they were about to reach the depths, Zichen had already mobilized nearly 20% of the holy spirits of the Holy Thunder Clan. This was a very terrifying number, which meant that almost 1/5 of the Holy Thunder Clan was under the command of Zichen alone this time. Furthermore, this number was still increasing. Although there were quite a few people from other forces, they definitely didn't have as many as the Holy Thunder Clan. They also didn't have as many people as the Holy Thunder Clan. After all, the Holy Thunder Clan's fees were practically free. They, on the other hand, were carefully selected. They were not as capricious as the Holy Thunder Clan, and would even recruit 1 or 2 stars. Moreover, the leaders of the major forces who came here only played the role of a leader, unlike Zichen, who was in full charge this time. Therefore, those hostile clans who didn't get any benefits from Zichen desperately slandered Zichen. As long as there was an opportunity, they would firmly seize it and accuse Zichen of one crime after another. This led to a strange phenomenon. The more united the holy spirits led by Zichen inside and outside the Lost World were, the more notorious he became among the clans. It was almost to the point where everyone wanted to beat him up. Those who didn't know the situation would think that Zichen was unpardonably evil. Regarding this, neither the holy sage Lei Di nor Lei Zhengke, who was overseeing the Holy Thunder Clan, stopped it and seemed to let it develop. After a year, Zichen met Tasha again. It seemed that after a whole year of careful consideration, she finally agreed to Zichen's previous suggestion and would bring the vestigial clan to Zichen's Qianwu world. In a top-secret place, Tasha asked, "How do you plan to take us away? After all, if you take so many people at once, you will definitely be besieged by other forces." Zichen said, "Don't worry about this. I have my own arrangements." "When do you plan to leave?" Tasha said, "Not for the time being. We need to finish everything here." "What do you mean?" Zichen was a little puzzled. Tasha explained, "It's an ancient curse of my clan. If the curse can't be lifted, then my clan can't leave this world at all." "Curse?" Zichen was taken aback when he heard this and said, "There's such a thing. Didn't we leave last time?" Tasha said, "My situation is special. I can enter and leave freely without restrictions, but others can't." It wasn't that the vestigial clan hadn't thought of leaving. In the past, they had tried to enter the area controlled by the Holy Moon Clan. They had also become members of the Holy Moon Clan, but no matter how they used the lost heavenly crystal to set up the transmission array, they couldn't leave this world. There seemed to be a mysterious force in the unseen world that prevented all of this. "What kind of curse is it?" Zichen asked curiously. Tasha shook her head and said, "We don't know the specifics. It seems that our clan exists in this world to protect something. Unfortunately, too much time has passed, and no one knows what it is that we are protecting." Tasha got up and said, "Come with me." At this moment, he stood up and followed Tasha out of the room. At this moment, Zichen was alone in the depths of the vestigial clan's territory. This was also a sign of his sincerity. Along the way, they encountered many members of the vestigial clan. From time to time, they would cast curious glances at Zichen, but no one showed any hostility to Zichen. Zichen, who was following Tasha, could feel a strong aura faintly coming from along the way. It seemed that there were many powerhouses in the dark. Tasha took Zichen to an open area. Compared with the surrounding trees and forests, this open area seemed abrupt. Zichen looked ahead, and his expression changed a little. There was an abnormal fluctuation in the space there. Sometimes, ripples would surge out, but when he sensed it carefully, he couldn't find anything. "What's going on?" Zichen asked in confusion. Tasha shook her head and said, "I don't know, but the older generation of the clan searched for some ancient books left behind in history. They speculated that the thing we have been guarding for generations may be about to appear." "Oh." Zichen looked ahead, and his line of sight changed a little. "Are you sure? This is a clue we found after we couldn't leave last time. At first, we thought that we were the only ones in this world," Tasha said with uncertainty. Zichen looked ahead and saw that the ripples there were more intense. At this moment, Zichen seemed to perceive a familiar aura. This feeling had appeared once when he first entered this world. However, when Zichen's soul probed forward, he didn't find anything. It should take some time before it appears. Chapter 41-29. After discussing the matter, Zichen said goodbye and left. On the way back, he was still thinking. The familiar feeling from before was very real. It was not like the first time he came in, where it disappeared in a flash. However, he was alone and had never been here before. Where did this familiar feeling come from? After Zichen left, Tasha was still standing in the same place. An old man walked over from afar. "Why did you bring him here?" The old man stood beside Tasha. "Why did you lie to him about the curse?" Tasha looked ahead and said, "The curse might really exist." The old man did not understand. The ancient forbidden land appears once every few years, but after entering, we haven't obtained anything. Perhaps it doesn't belong to us in the first place. We are only guardians, and our mission is to protect this place until its owner arrives. Tasha said, "Since it is a guardian, there are naturally restrictions. However, among our people, there has not been a single holy sage. Perhaps this is the curse." The old man asked doubtfully, "Didn't you say that the suppression would disappear after leaving this place?" "That's right. However, that is only my guess. I am not sure. Because the place where we are different from those invaders is still there. We have no power." "Power? Isn't our power much stronger than the invaders? We are all holy spirits. According to their realm, we can suppress them." The old man said confidently, "Compared to us, their battle strength is too weak." Tasha shook her head and said, "No, the power I am talking about is the power that extends from the body. It is also the power of cultivation. This is something that all holy spirits in the outside world have. In the Blood Dragon Canyon, the dragon fiend power that Zichen unearthed was very useful to them. However, everyone has seen that power. It is useless to us." Tasha pointed at her body and said, "Their power is in abdomen's position. It is very mysterious." Then, she pointed at the space between her eyebrows. "And our power is here. They call this power soul power. They also cultivate soul power, but they are not as focused as us. The reason why we are strong is because our soul power can suppress them. However, once our soul power is unable to gain an advantage, they can easily suppress us with abdomen's power." "Are you sure?" The old man's expression changed. Tasha said, "I saw it with my own eyes. It's just that I've never told you why the Holy Thunder Clan was able to occupy the canyon so quickly back then. It was because they had weapons that strengthened their soul power that they were able to suppress those creatures. Last time when I went to the Saint Spirit realm with Zichen, I also heard a lot of secrets. For example, those weapons all came from a place called the Holy Talisman Realm. Zichen said that the people living there mainly cultivate soul force. They have all kinds of soul weapons and are very powerful. Most importantly, that world isn't affected by the rules, there are holy sovereigns there. So, for safety's sake, we have to wait until the sealed area opens again before we can leave." Otherwise, when we go to the other world, we might still be unable to break through. When that time comes, it will be too late for regrets." The old man's eyes flickered a few times before he asked, "Could it be that you chose Zichen because of the Forbidden Land? Or did you see something the last time you entered the Forbidden Land?" Zichen still couldn't figure out where that familiar feeling came from. He raised his head and looked at the sky. The weather was not bad. They continued forward. At this time, in the secret chamber, Yu Buhuai of the Holy Moon Clan sneered, "This guy ran really far. If our great formation hadn't become part of the rules and started to extend on its own, we wouldn't have been able to see some of his little tricks." Yu Butian said, "It seems that Zichen's relationship with the Lost Clan is very solid. Next, he won't have to bear any losses and will be able to obtain great benefits. To be able to do this with his own strength, it's really amazing." Yu Buhuai said sarcastically, "So what? His reputation in the Holy Thunder Clan is extremely bad now. No matter how great his gains are, no one will appreciate it." Yu Butian smiled but didn't say anything. Ever since Zichen had challenged him in front of everyone, Yu Buhuai had targeted Zichen. The leader on the side said in a deep voice, "This time, no one stopped Zichen from entering the depths. It seems that he can already move freely in this world. Perhaps, he also learned about the ancient ruins from the Lost Clan." Yu Butian's expression changed. "That's impossible, right? Isn't that a secret left behind by an ancient holy sage? Very few people know about it. Even the Lost Clan doesn't know about it. Perhaps he doesn't know the secret, but he might already know about that place." The leader said indifferently, "This time, the Holy Thunder Clan's gains are already great enough. We have been watching from the sidelines. If they dare to touch the ruins this time, then don't blame us for being impolite." Yu Butian was shocked and said, "Leader, you mean?" The leader waved his hand and said, "Don't worry. After all, the Holy Thunder Clan is also our ally. How can we be ruthless? If we kill all the Holy Thunder Clan holy spirits who came here in one go, the Holy Thunder Clan will definitely go crazy. We are going to unearth the ruins of an ancient holy sage. Perhaps there are great secrets inside, but you have to know that there is a true ancient holy sage living in the Holy Thunder Clan. If he gets angry, the entire Holy Spirit domain will tremble. When the time comes, even if we monopolize the resources here, we won't be able to deal with Lei Zhengke's anger." The leader's eyes suddenly turned cold. "But I believe that there won't be any problems killing some people who don't know the immensity of heaven and earth." The temperature in the secret room suddenly dropped, and infinite killing intent filled the air. It was obvious that the leader really wanted to kill. They could watch Zichen gain one harvest after another, but they couldn't let him touch the things left behind by the holy sage. Because that was their ultimate goal, Zichen returned to the periphery, and then called the little fairy over immediately. He said, "From now on, we will be together. Our main goal is to find large resource veins. As for the matter of devouring, we will talk about it later." Seeing that Zichen was a little anxious, the little fairy asked, "Did something happen? Why are you in such a hurry? Time is of the essence. We have to occupy some veins first and lock on to those resources in advance," Zichen said. "As long as we lock on to the resources, we can slowly extract them." The little fairy nodded. This time, she didn't immediately bargain with Zichen. Zichen returned to the Blood Dragon Canyon, and then personally led a group of experts into the depths. Chapter 41:30. The little fairy turned into a ray of light and flew to Zichen's side. Then, Zichen raised his hand and shot out a ray of energy. The energy condensed from the power of the ancient thunder flame turned into a huge light shield that covered an area of dozens of miles. An ancient aura surged in the surroundings, bringing with it a strong pressure that spread in all directions. Zichen looked at the people behind him and said, "Leave 20 people behind to guard this place. The rest of you, follow me. Like I said, if anyone comes here to steal, it's important to stay alive, but you must remember them and recognize each of them. It'll be easy to settle the score when the time comes." "Yes." The 20 people who had already agreed immediately cupped their fists and bowed. The others left and continued to search for the next place of opportunity. Just as Zi Chen sped up, the other forces also sped up. It was unknown if they had heard something. They began to bring people to the Lost World, and the Holy Moon Clan also made a lot of money. At the same time, the lost heavenly crystals mined by the Holy Thunder Clan also began to be sold. During this time, various teleportation arrays had been arranged. As for the price, it was the same as the Holy Moon Clans. They did not deliberately lower the price. Obviously, they could not cut off the Holy Moon Clan's source of income and cause a rift between the two clans. Moreover, many people from the Holy Thunder Clan had come this time. These people would eventually have to return. At the same time, a portion of them had to be kept as a teleportation array for future mining, so the amount that could be sold was not large. The resources of the immortal domain had been mined for hundreds of years, but now everyone still had to go in and out. It was the same here. When the lost heavenly crystals began to be sold, the various major forces quickly came to the Holy Thunder Clan to trade and obtain an extremely large amount of lost heavenly crystals. Of course, this kind of transaction was private, so the price was relatively discounted to a certain extent. When the Holy Moon Clan was the dominant force, they also gave preferential treatment to the various major forces later on. It seemed that within a day, all the forces stopped their internal strife and began to explore with all their might. The battle was still going on, and the Holy Thunder Clan was still the most relaxed. However, compared to the other forces, Zi Chen did not walk in a straight line. Instead, he kept detouring, trying his best to find resources. During this period of time, Zi Chen went in several times to see Tasha and discuss some details. At the same time, he also checked out the sealed area. That area was still not completely revealed. Time passed, and 2 years passed in the blink of an eye. The number of Holy Spirits Zi Chen deployed here had already exceeded 30% of the Holy Thunder Clan's total. They finally walked into the depths, arriving at the sealed land. The bereaved who originally lived here had all retreated and abandoned this place. Over the past few years, both sides had suffered many casualties. The space around the sealed area was violently distorted, as if it could appear at any time. The forces that came from all directions met once again and arrived at the periphery of the sealed grounds. This time, the people of the Holy Moon Clan had also arrived, led by Yu Butian. Zi Chen had only brought a dozen or so people along the way. Compared to the other forces, he had brought the least people. Among the other clans, there were hundreds of people here. In addition, the other forces, big and small, also brought a lot of people. The news had leaked out a year ago. It was said that this place was the residence of an ancient Holy Venerate, and there were relics left behind by the ancient Holy Venerate. At the same time, it also triggered a heated discussion among the ancient Holy Venerates. It was said that this was a Holy Venerate from ancient times, and was not at the same level as the current Holy Venerates. There was only one ancient Holy Venerate living in the world today, and that was Lei Zhengke of the Holy Thunder Clan. He was the well-deserved number one person in the Holy Thunder Clan, and was also the number one Holy Venerate in the Holy Spirit realm. It was said that he was a Holy Spirit who lived in ancient times, and he was someone who had seen the turmoil of ancient times. In the Holy Thunder Clan, there had always been a rumor that Holy Venerate Lei Di was also a figure from ancient times. The bereaved living in the Lost World also came from ancient times. Zi Chen, we meet again. Yu Bushan looked at Zi Chen, and cupped his fists at Zi Chen from afar. I heard that the Holy Thunder Clan has reaped a great harvest this time. Congratulations. Zi Chen smiled and said, no matter how great our harvest is, it can't compare to your Holy Moon Clan. You control the entrance, so you are the biggest beneficiary of the Lost World this time. Obviously, he was just exchanging pleasantries, and he would not really divide the harvest. Then, Yu Bushan greeted the leaders of the other clans. Unsurprisingly, those leaders were all in the 9-star realm. Because they were fighting for the last opportunity, existences of other levels were not of much use here. There was even more than one 9-star Holy Venerate in those teams. Relatively speaking, Zi Chen's team not only had fewer people, but their levels were also not high. They were all in the 7-star realm, and there was not a single 9-star Holy Spirit. However, Everyone knew that Zi Chen's individual combat strength was equivalent to several 9-star holy spirits. Therefore, those factions that came, intentionally or unintentionally, would look at Zi Chen with hostility in their eyes. In fact, many factions had secretly formed an alliance, but none of them came here to look for Zi Chen. At this moment, a woman walked forward. She happened to be in the direction of the Holy Thunder clan. Long time no see. The woman came in front of Zi Chen. Zi Chen looked at her. You came here now. Aren't you afraid that the other factions will make you an enemy? The person who came was Kui Jing, a member of the Kui family. She smiled and said, if they consider me an enemy just because I said a few words to great leader Zi Chen, then they are too petty. Zi Chen said with some disappointment, just a few words. I thought you were here to form an alliance with me. It seems that I was happy for nothing. You are the great leader Zi Chen. Do you still need to form an alliance with others? Kui Jing said, you, who have occupied a celestial crystal mine, have mobilized more people than several major factions combined. And you, the great leader Zi Chen, are a man of your word. As long as you give the order, it won't be a problem to surround this place. Why do you still need an alliance? Because the two of them didn't deliberately suppress their voices, the others around them heard it clearly. Many people's eyes were filled with hostility. The Holy Thunder clan did have the most people here, but Zi Chen only brought so many people because the others were mining resources and didn't have time to come here. Just like the previous trip to the Immortal Realm, the Holy Thunder clan was also the biggest winner this time. Some people even privately discussed that the resources Zi Chen obtained for the Holy Thunder clan might have surpassed the gains of the Holy Moon clan who discovered this world. And this place, like the soul-gathering crystal mine in the Immortal Realm, was the last great opportunity, so no one was willing to miss it. Kui Jing's words made the others vigilant. Once they gained something inside, would they encounter the holy spirits of the Holy Thunder clan surrounding this place when they came out? After all, the Holy Thunder clan had the most people here this time. Taking in the changes in everyone's expressions, Zi Chen said, you really know how to chat. It's fine that you don't want to form an alliance with me, but you even made some enemies for me. How can our Holy Thunder clan be so overbearing? We have already gained a lot of resources. This time, we just came here to join in the fun. If we gain something, we'll be happy. If we don't, we'll just take it as seeing the world. Otherwise, we wouldn't have only brought so few people. But if there really is someone who can surround this place, it's the Holy Moon clan who has the strength. After all, they have 3 mines and our Holy Thunder clan only has 1. We came here in the past few years. Who knows how many people have come here in the past few hundred years? As soon as these words came out, many people's attention fell on the Holy Moon clan. Some people had the necessary vigilance in their hearts. That's right. Compared to the Holy Thunder clan, the Holy Moon clan's foundation here was deeper. Brother Zi Chen, your joke is too much. Everyone has paid a fee to come here. All the resources have to be fought for based on their own strength. After all, we have always followed the principle of fair competition. Yu Butian immediately said, this point is obvious to all. Obviously, Yu Butian didn't want the people of the Holy Moon clan to become the focus. Suddenly, the others' gazes shifted and looked in a certain direction. The Vestigial clan had appeared. The surrounding atmosphere immediately became tense. Except for the Holy Thunder clan, the various forces that had come here had fought with the Vestigial clan many times. The casualties on both sides were huge. Now that the enemies had met, their eyes were cold. The Vestigial clan seemed to have not noticed the hostility around them and continued to walk forward. Fortunately, there were not many people from the Vestigial clan, less than 10. Everyone restrained themselves and didn't immediately attack. A force of unknown origin suddenly stopped them and used words to berate the Vestigial clan members not to approach. The Vestigial clan member at the front was Tasha. She didn't argue with those people, but looked at Zi Chen. Zi Chen had no choice but to shout, everyone, they are my friends, please make way for them. What if this secret place requires a special power to open? They can also help, can't they? As soon as Zi Chen's voice fell, some mocking voices sounded around. The Holy Thunder clan has become friends with the Vestigial clan. It's really like a cat and a mouse. I wonder who will eat who when there are no more benefits between you two. The Holy Thunder clan's way of betraying their allies and befriending the Vestigial clan really surprised us. Although the words were taunting, no one else stopped Tasha and the others. It was unknown if it was because of Zi Chen's last sentence. Kui Jing looked at the people walking forward and immediately said, "You already have an ally from the Vestigial clan, so you don't need an ally from the Holy Spirit realm." After saying that, the other party left. It was unknown what her original intention was for coming here. Tasha walked over. In addition to her, there were also Tess and another young man in the team. The remaining 6 people were old and had powerful auras. "Why are you here?" Zi Chen was very surprised by Tasha's arrival. As for the others' taunts, Zi Chen completely ignored them. These guys were the typical ones who said the grapes were sour when they couldn't eat them. If they were given a chance to form an alliance with the Vestigial clan, they would run faster than anyone else. Tasha came to Zi Chen's side and whispered, "This place is also useful to us. We want to go in." "Oh." Zi Chen was a little surprised. Tasha continued to transmit her voice, "There is a strange energy in this peripheral area. This energy can greatly strengthen our bodies." Chapter 41-31. Zi Chen had come here many times and chatted with Tasha many times, but this was the first time he learned some secrets about this place. He looked at Tasha in confusion. Tasha said, "The resources here are the foundation of our body's strength. The external power is of great use to us. After coming to this world, the human holy spirits had suffered a great loss. On one hand, they were not good at soul power attacks, and on the other hand, the Vestigial clan's physical body was too strong. However, as Zi Chen came into contact with the Vestigial clan, he found that they did not deliberately cultivate the power of their physical body. They did not have physical strength, but their physical body was very strong. Now he knew the answer. Tasha continued to transmit her voice, "This place opens every once in a while. In recent thousands of years, the frequency of opening has increased a lot. But every time, our Vestigial clan can only get some power from the periphery. We can't enter the inside at all, and we will be forcibly taken out." Zi Chen nodded. "So that's how it is. This may be the last time we come here. We want to bring some power back." Tasha did not tell Zi Chen the whole truth. In addition to power, she actually wanted to see if other people could get the opportunity in the depths. She had also heard about those rumors. In fact, she agreed with them because the Vestigial clan existed to protect. However, because too much time had passed, no one in the Vestigial clan knew what exactly they were protecting. There were sounds of discussion all around, but most of them were talking about the relationship between the Vestigial clan and Zi Chen. The battle between them and the Vestigial clan was very tragic, and the casualties were great. If it were not for Zi Chen's last words, everyone would not be so restrained. When they hated the Vestigial clan, they also hated the Holy Thunder clan and Zi Chen. After all, they fought so hard, but the resources they got were not as much as the Holy Thunder clan. There were waves of ripples in front, and powerful energy was constantly surging. The abnormal situation was getting more and more intense. Everyone's attention was attracted to the front again. Suddenly, there was a loud tremor, as if a heavy object had fallen vertically. Countless smoke and dust flew, and powerful air waves spread. Smoke and dust swept over. Many people narrowed their eyes, and some raised their arms to block in front of them. Zi Chen turned around and glanced at Tasha and the others. Their expressions changed slightly. As the dust settled, a piece of land appeared in front of them. The land seemed to be suppressed in a special space. Ripples were faintly discernible, and the aura of an ancient holy venerate swept out from within. "This is the place," Tasha said. "Are we going in just like that?" Zi Chen asked. Tasha nodded. The conversation between the two parties was not suppressed, and the others could hear it. In an instant, several light figures flew forward. Someone went in. When one person moved, the others followed suit. Streaks of light swirled about. "Wait a moment." Zi Chen noticed that someone on Tasha's side had taken a step forward. He immediately reminded her, "Let's wait for them to go in first. The greater the opportunity, the more difficult it was to snatch it in an instant. These people had special identities. If they rashly entered now, they might cause some trouble. Tasha and the others stopped moving and chose to wait. Among the crowd, not everyone rushed in. There were also many forces like Zichen who chose to watch quietly from the sidelines. Some people left, and some waited. It formed a sharp contrast. Everyone stopped and did not enter. There was still half left. Zichen looked around, and his gaze finally fell on Ubutian. "Brother Butian, you're not going in?" Ubutian smiled and said, "No hurry. The Holy Thunder Clan can go in first." Zichen also smiled. "If we go in first, there might not be any good things left." Originally, there were still people who were ready to go, but after hearing Zichen's words, they stopped and were no longer in a hurry to go in. All resources are obtained by those who are fated. "Brother Zichen, please go ahead." Ubutian waved his hand and said, appearing very generous, "Let's go." Zichen did not stand on ceremony and directly walked forward. During this time, everyone could still see the flickering shadows in the space. Lei Wusheng followed behind Zichen. Other than him, there was also Xiao Lei in the core group. The rest were all core disciples. After Zichen entered, the other forces did not wait any longer and flew forward one after another. Zichen entered the space. There were already many people here, and there were occasional battles. The enemies were some humanoid creatures, and each of them had extraordinary combat strength. After those humanoid creatures are killed, they will be the power we need, Tasha explained. Oh! Zichen's expression changed slightly. He looked ahead and saw a 9-star saint spirit killing a humanoid creature at the same time. After it died, it turned into a pure power and floated in the air. After seeing the power clearly, Zichen's pupils could not help but shrink. This scene was very similar to the strange place Zichen discovered in the Blood Dragon Canyon. The power was also very similar to the Dragon Fiend power. Tasha noticed the change in Zichen's expression and said, "Do you find it familiar?" "Actually, the two powers are different." Zichen looked at Tasha, and Tasha explained, "The main difference is that the power here is useful to us, but the power in the Blood Dragon Canyon is useless to us." "You know about the power there too?" Zichen was very surprised. Tess said, "Before you came, we discovered that place. It was useless to us, so we did not pay attention to it. I did not expect it to be a treasure in your hands." Tasha continued, "The power here is limited, and it is the only opportunity we can get here. It's the power of opportunity to strengthen the body." At this moment, a 9-star saint spirit who had killed the humanoid creature and refined its power yelled out. Tasha had already explained it before, so Zichen had some guesses about the use of the power. When he heard this shout, he was not surprised, but he was looking forward to it. But soon, Zichen found that Tasha and the others did not move, so he asked, "Aren't you going to fight for it?" Tasha said, "Let's see how you fight first." Zichen turned around and glanced at the others. Everyone seemed to have a tacit understanding and spread out. Since Tasha said that the number of opportunities here was limited, then it was necessary to speed up the battle and fight for more power. In Zichen's vision, a humanoid creature appeared. Or rather, these humanoid creatures appeared at random and just happened to appear in front of Zichen. Zichen's figure flashed, and he instantly sped up. Powerful soul power surged out and attacked in front of him. As soon as he attacked, Zichen felt regret in his heart, because the opportunity here was power. Maybe it was the same as the Dragon Fiend power, soul power might be ineffective. With a thought, Zichen attacked, and a powerful attack approached. With a loud bang, soul power began to surge. The humanoid creature in front of him disappeared, and a light of power appeared. Chapter 41-32. When Zichen was in the Blood Dragon Canyon, he used his soul power to deal with the flood dragon there, but it was useless. He was even mocked by the little fairy. But it seemed to work here. The energy floated in front of him, shining brightly. Zichen reached out and took it. The dragon aura was useless to him, so he wondered if the energy in front of him was effective. With that thought, the energy entered his body and began to be refined. After the energy entered his body, it began to decompose and entered his blood. As the blood flowed, it entered every part of his body. Wherever it passed, this power would slowly strengthen his physical body. It's useful. Zichen's eyes lit up. At the same time, he discovered the difference between the two types of energy. The dragon aura only strengthened the energy in abdomen, but the energy here strengthened the physical body of the sacred spirit. If one were to use essence, qi, and spirit to describe it, then in the holy talisman realm that Zichen went to, the most powerful was the spirit. The dragon aura changed the quality of qi, and the energy here strengthened the essence of the physical body, which was also the power of blood essence. The formation of the Blood Dragon Canyon was rumored to be that a blood dragon had fallen in the canyon. Its energy was decomposed, and after many years of changes, it formed the canyon today. What about here? It was similar to the Blood Dragon Canyon. Could it be the place where an ancient sacred spirit had fallen? At this moment, many people had gained something and were refining the energy they had obtained. While refining, they did not give up on searching for new energy, so the battles continued. Tasha and the others were still standing there. They did not look for opportunities here, but looked at the battles around them. Although they had observed the battles of the sacred spirits more than once, it was the first time they had seen such a comprehensive battle. All the races had come, and their strengths were obviously different. Other than attributes, there were also different techniques. Everyone's eyes were glued to the battle, because in the continuous battle, they were gradually losing their advantage. Our weakness is our strength. I've asked Zichen about this. In their world, there are many defensive items that can defend against physical attacks. They need to defend against our soul attacks, and we need external objects to defend against physical attacks. Tasha said, I've already communicated with Zichen. He has his own place to refine weapons. Once he reaches the outside world, he can trade with us. All of them nodded in agreement. By now, no one was debating whether or not they should believe Zichen. After several years of continuous fighting, the number of lost tribe members had decreased sharply, while the number of enemies had increased crazily. The gap between the two sides was very obvious. If Tasha hadn't reached an agreement with Zichen early on and given them a way out, perhaps the native clan would have already been destroyed. Now, they were just waiting here. They were waiting for this place to be discovered. They were waiting for the Lost Clan's mission to end. Then, they would leave with Zichen. The path of departure might not be smooth, but the Lost Race was already prepared for a big battle. Remember their battle techniques. They may be of great use to us in the future, Tasha said. The few people at the back were silently recording every scene in their minds. At the same time, one of them was holding a memory crystal and recording the battle around them. However, what they were able to record were battles where both sides were evenly matched. For example, Zichen's battle, where he had swept through all of his opponents, was of little use even if they recorded it. It was pure power suppression. Peng, peng, peng. Every humanoid creature that Zichen encountered was killed in one move. Whenever he obtained power, he would refine it in the first place. He could clearly feel the strength of his physical body. Zichen majored in physical body cultivation. He was already extraordinary. Even so, the power here was useful to him. This showed how precious it was. At least, compared to the power of the dragon, which was useless to him in the outside world, the power here was useful to him. Tasha said that the power here was limited. Killing one meant one less. However, they had been killing for half a month. Everyone's harvest was huge. This trip was not in vain. Moreover, everyone had made great progress. Their physical bodies had been improved significantly. During this period, Tasha and the others didn't hunt a single one. They just watched, observed, and recorded as bystanders. After half a month, the number of humanoid creatures that appeared was significantly reduced. This indicated that the battle was coming to an end. This time, Tasha didn't need to say anything. The other Lost Race members could already perceive the gap because they had to fight here for about a year at a time. Including Tasha, as the number of humanoid creatures decreased, their faces were full of expectation. Whether or not their guess would come true depended on the changes that would happen next. As the last humanoid creature was killed, all the lost race members felt their hearts in their throats. Usually, at this time, a powerful force would appear, and then they would all be thrown away from this place. At this time, a powerful force appeared, which made Tasha and the others almost despair. Could it be that they would never be able to leave this place? However, they soon found that the force that appeared this time was no longer the force that would take them away. Instead, it was a force that fell from the sky. A black shadow fell, covering the sky and the sun. It had the aura of an ancient holy master. It was a huge mountain that was slowly descending. Sure enough, Tasha was very excited. Beside her, the other people were also very excited. Some of them had tears in their eyes. For many years, they had only been able to take this step, but today, they saw the next step. They might not be able to get their hands on the opportunities here, but this change indicated that their guardian mission was about to come to an end. The other holy spirits in the shadows all moved to the sides, leaving enough space for the mountain to descend. The mountain was descending, and a powerful aura was surging. Zichen perceived this aura, and the familiar feeling in his heart became stronger and stronger. The mountain fell to the ground, and the earth shook. There was a towering hall on the mountain peak. The hall was dark gold in color and had a magnificent aura. Outside the hall was an open area with 9 roads extending from the mountain peak to the bottom. In other words, the 9 roads that extended to the top of the mountain peak eventually turned into a road that led to the hall. The 9 roads converged into one. Zichen raised his head and looked up. He could vaguely see the shape of the palace. However, when he squinted his eyes and tried to look forward, his vision seemed to penetrate the distorted space. The appearance of the palace suddenly became clear. Not only did he see the dark gold hall, but he also saw the structure of the hall. In an instant, his expression changed drastically. Chapter 41:33. Many years ago, before Zichen came to the Saint Spirit world, Lei Tian took out a large hall and gave it to Zichen. He said that the hall was called Zichen Hall and was the core of the Sky Martial continent. As long as he refined it, he would be able to control the Sky Martial continent and become the ruler of the Sky Martial continent. Zichen refined it and then brought the Sky Martial continent to the Saint Spirit world. He always thought that his Zichen Hall was unique, but he never thought that he would see a second one today. What's wrong? Tasha saw that Zichen was acting strangely. Zichen shook his head and said, "Nothing." There were many similar buildings in the world, so there was nothing strange about it. Zichen told himself that in his heart. Zichen came back to his senses. At this moment, there were already people starting to climb the mountain. There were a total of 9 paths, and they could only enter from these 9 paths. Some people tried to soar into the air, but just as they approached the mountain, a strange gravitational force appeared, making it impossible for them to get close. There were also people who tried to climb the mountain, the kind that did not take the normal path, but they were still pushed back. Everyone could only obediently climb the mountain, but after they took the first step, it was as if they were hit by a body freezing technique, and they stood there motionless. Zichen was still not in a hurry to go over. Xiao Lei, Lei Wusheng, and the others came back behind him. They were all happy, because Zichen had said before that the power obtained here was theirs. This power was useful to them. Of course, if they sold it, they could also exchange it for a lot of resources. So everyone was in a good mood. Zichen looked at Tasha with a questioning look in his eyes. Tasha was in a good mood. She shook her head and said, "We have never seen this scene before, so we can't give you any advice." "Then let's wait and see." Zichen stood there and quietly looked at the people climbing the mountain. After a short while, some people moved and continued to climb the mountain. "Looks like it's some kind of test." Zichen's gaze moved and looked at the peak of the mountain. The dark golden hall stood there. If it was not for the different color, Zichen would definitely mistake it for his own Zichen Hall. After a while, the others moved one after another. After moving forward for a while, they stopped again. Zichen asked, "You're not going to try your luck?" Tasha glanced at Tess, who walked forward. The moment he approached the passage, a strange force appeared and forced him to retreat. He turned around and shook his head and smiled bitterly. Zichen said, "Be careful. We'll go up first." Tasha nodded, and Zi Chen walked forward. Everyone had chosen the same path, and the instant they ascended the stairs, the scene before Zi Chen's eyes changed. Yu Yang was Yu Yang Long, along Yu's Yu, Zi Yu Yang's staff killed Yu Yu. A bright light of power appeared, which was of higher quality than the power obtained from killing Yu Yang. Zi Chen directly refined this power, and his vision returned to normal. Looking up at the winding path, he could not help but have a look of anticipation in his eyes. He wondered how much power he could get if he continued to climb. Tasha looked at the 9 mountain paths. They were the only ones here. The others were climbing. Zi Chen paused for a moment, then quickly moved forward again. His speed was much faster than the others. In the other directions, there were similar existences. It was as if many light shadows were climbing the mountain. Tasha and the others stood there, silently watching those people climb the mountain. This was the first time they had watched a battle so calmly. The saint spirits of the saint spirit realm had shown them a different kind of style. Each had their own strengths. Once there was a way to counter them, each of their strengths could be maximized. Suddenly, a cry of surprise came from halfway up the mountain. A saint spirit was wrapped in a powerful force and thrown out of the mountain. The saint spirit who was thrown out of the mountain was very unwilling, and he went up the mountain path again. But this time, he did not succeed. He was disqualified. He was unwilling, and he cursed, trying to say that he was just careless, and that he was not really a match for them. Unfortunately, no one responded. The world was very quiet. Tired of cursing, the saint spirit turned around, glanced at Tasha and the others, and snorted coldly, then walked to the other side. At that moment, killing intent rose in his heart, but he quickly weighed his own fighting strength, and knew that he was no match for them, so he retreated. Then, the second and third saints were thrown out. They landed on the ground, and they were also unwilling. As more and more people climbed higher, more and more saint spirits were disqualified, and more saint spirits gathered. Occasionally, they would look at Tasha and the others, and their eyes were very cold. The eliminated saint spirits had begun to take shape, and they posed a certain threat to them. Sensing their unfriendly gazes, Tess said in a low voice, "Should we retreat first? If we retreat now, it will be difficult to come in again." Tasha looked at the others and said, "Also, they don't have the guts to attack us for now. They are very hostile, and they seem to be ready to attack at any time. Also, they have a lot of people, and we are definitely no match for them." Tess said, "They have scruples about the Holy Thunder Clan, and they all have the power they obtained before. Once they attack us, when Zi Chen comes, they will not be able to keep their power." Tasha saw through this very clearly. Although many people were hostile to them, not a single one of them dared to make a move. Or rather, none of them dared to be the first to attack. Because Zi Chen had spread the news more than once that he was a vengeful person, and he would seek revenge in the future. "Do you think you are worthy of joining the Holy Thunder Clan? Stop dreaming." Right at this moment, a cold and indifferent voice suddenly sounded, carrying an obvious intention to target him. A person with more than 10 saint spirits of the Holy Thunder Clan was walking toward them. It was Lai's Hong Fang. Because he was too weak, he was disqualified. The others looked like they were watching a good show. They did not dare to target the Holy Thunder Clan, but the people of the Holy Thunder Clan could. "You uncivilized lost clans, what qualifications do you have to join the Holy Thunder Clan?" Lai's Hong Fang said coldly. Tess and the others immediately showed anger on their faces. "What, are you not convinced?" Lai's Hong Fang said coldly, "What can you do to me? Let me tell you, if you dare to touch us, I promise you will die miserably. Zi Chen is from the Holy Thunder Clan, but the Holy Thunder Clan has more than one Zi Chen. If you provoke me, even if you successfully reach the Holy Thunder Clan, I will make you die without a burial place." Chapter 41-34. The others were waiting for a good show. At this time, it was indeed best for the people of the Holy Thunder Clan to show up. Lei Zhenghong walked forward, followed closely by the holy spirits of the Holy Thunder Clan who had been disqualified. It seemed that they were going to fight. Tess looked at Tasha with a questioning look in his eyes. These people were not strong, otherwise, they would not have been eliminated so early. However, their identities were more troublesome. because if they killed them, they might break the agreement with Zi Chen and cause their migration plan to fail. Right now, this place was completely uninhabitable. Thus, they all had to leave. But if they did not fight, the other side would provoke them like this. Tasha said, "Let's retreat first. We will wait outside." She retreated backward. Who knew that at this time, a group of people would suddenly appear behind them, blocking Tasha and the others' retreat. "Bitch, are you trying to run?" Lei Zhenghong sneered. "Why? Are you afraid of my 2 spears? I'm just curious, which spear are you afraid of? Or rather, which spear are you looking forward to? You're courting death." Tess and the others had murderous intent in their eyes. Lei Zhenghong sneered, "Come here if you have the guts." At this time, Tasha and the others were attacked from 2 sides. At the same time, people came from 2 other directions. Since the people of the Holy Thunder Clan had taken the lead, they were not afraid. Seeing that there was no way out, the eyes of the people behind Tasha became cold and indifferent. It seemed that they had to fight even if they did not want to. These holy spirits were the first to be eliminated, so their combat power was very low. If they were not afraid of trouble, they would have attacked long ago. Seeing that the 2 sides were about to fight, an indifferent voice suddenly came from behind. "If you really have the guts to fight, I believe I will be very impressed." Lei Zhenghong heard this voice and immediately turned around. He saw Lei Wuxing, and his eyes were immediately filled with surprise. His opponent actually came out. He was the ultimate core. How could he be eliminated so quickly? "You are very good. You have successfully made me lose this opportunity. I will remember you." Lei Wuxing looked at Lei Zhenghong Fang and said indifferently. He did not deliberately emphasize his tone, but it was this kind of calm tone that made Lei Zhenghong tremble in fear. This was because this was a warning from an extreme core. It was not a good thing to be remembered by such an extreme core. "My lord, this is a misunderstanding." "It's really a misunderstanding," Lei Zhenghong Fang hurriedly explained. He wasn't so arrogant as to ignore an extreme core. One must know that even his elder brother had once worked hard to become an extreme core. Unfortunately, he failed in the end. What was even more unexpected was that Lei Wuxing, a core member, was actually willing to give up this opportunity for the sake of Zi Chen. Lei Wuxing didn't look at Lei Wuxing again. To be honest, ever since he came into contact with this famous Lei Jing family in the immortal domain, Lei Wuxing was filled with disappointment towards this family. If it wasn't for a sacred venerate, such a domineering family would have been destroyed long ago. As his gaze swept across, the people who were previously moving forward all retreated. Lei Wuxing nodded at Tasha, and Tasha nodded in response. The problem was solved. Tasha continued to look at the people who were climbing the mountain. At this moment, the strongest group was almost at the top of the mountain. Lei Wuxing, who had already lost his qualification, came to Tasha's side and deliberately kept a distance of 3 steps from her. There are also humanoid creatures inside, but they are stronger. Of course, the power they obtain is also purer. The higher you go, the better the quality. "We have made you lose this opportunity," Tasha said in shame. "There is no need for that. Zi Chen will compensate me after this." Lei Wuxing smiled faintly. Along the way, Zi Chen's enemies were getting stronger. However, their overall strength was still much weaker than Zi Chen's. Although they were only at the 7-star realm, Zi Chen was already able to defeat most of the 9-star realm. His journey was very smooth, but he was also a little unsatisfied because he didn't have a good fight. The number of enemies was too small. Moreover, he was not used to this kind of one-on-one because he was often fighting against a group of people. Of course, the main reason was that he didn't have enough power. If he could create 10 streams of power after killing one, Zi Chen would be very happy. Finally, he arrived at the top of the mountain. He was not the first to climb the mountain, but he was the first to arrive. He came to the square outside the main hall. The entire square was paved with unknown stone slabs. In front of the square was a straight path that led to the main hall. Zi Chen walked forward, and he didn't encounter any obstacles along the way. He walked past the square and came to the path that led to the main hall. With just one step, several ripples appeared in front of him, and a barrier appeared in front of him. Looking at this barrier, Zichen's expression changed slightly. He took a deep breath, and the power of the ancient thunder flame began to circulate. He clenched his fist and punched out. A storm that seemed to come from ancient times swept across the square, and a thunderous explosion resounded in all directions. Zichen's body moved back slowly, and he could feel the pain from his fist. However, the barrier in front of him didn't move at all. Zichen narrowed his eyes, and he was a little surprised. The long staff in his hand appeared again, and countless rays of golden light bloomed. He raised the staff again, and his aura was vast and mighty. Gusts of strong wind spread in all directions, and there was a whistling sound. It was still ineffective, and Zichen was forced to take a total of 7 steps back. He was so powerful that he could almost defeat anyone here, but he was blocked by an energy barrier. Zichen only suffered from the recoil, and he wasn't injured, so he continued to attack. The powerful attack was like thunder, and also like the sound of a drum that shook the sky. Many people who were disqualified flew into the air, and from a relatively safe place, they watched Zichen, who was attacking with all his strength, from afar. And those who had the strength to reach the top also heard the sound of the drum. Suddenly, everyone's expression changed. Because, without them knowing, there was actually another person beside Zichen. It was a graceful figure, standing beside Zichen, quietly watching Zichen attack. No one knew when she appeared, but by the time they noticed, it seemed that she had been standing there for a long time. "What's that?" Tasha asked. Lei Wusheng shook his head, and then reminded Zichen. But the two of them seemed to be in different spaces, and no matter how Lei Wusheng's voice shook, Zichen still didn't respond, and was still attacking with all his might. Until the second person appeared on the peak. He also heard the sound of the drum, and at this moment, saw the scene in front of him. Zichen was attacking a barrier with all his strength, and there was a figure standing beside Zichen, whose feet were off the ground, and whose body was flickering like a ghost. Her body was sometimes illusory, sometimes real, and sometimes illusory. He was stunned, and didn't dare to rush forward. "Little brother, you can't do this." Suddenly, a giggle came from beside him. Chapter 41:35. Zichen turned his head and saw the woman. Subconsciously, he tightened his grip on the black staff in his hand. Her body was suspended in the air, and her figure was sometimes real and sometimes fake. She looked like a real ghost, which was a little strange. Moreover, Zichen didn't know when she appeared or how long she had been here. "What are you looking at? Have you never seen such a beautiful big sister?" The woman winked at Zichen. Coincidentally, her body had disappeared, and only her eyes were visible, which made her look particularly scary. Fortunately, it was daytime. If it was nighttime, it would be scary. "Who are you?" Zichen tightened his grip on the staff and subconsciously took a step back. "And who are you?" The woman didn't answer, but she asked a question with a smile on her face. "Zichen." Zichen looked at the woman, his expression still vigilant. "Who sent you?" The woman pointed at the hall behind the barrier and winked at Zichen again. Fortunately, her body didn't disappear this time. Zichen suddenly understood and said in surprise, "You're the gatekeeper?" The woman looked at Zichen seriously and then nodded seriously. "You can say that." At this moment, many people had already reached the peak, but they didn't rush forward. Instead, they stood in the distance and watched Zichen's situation. The woman looked back at those people and said, "After the time it takes to burn an incense stick, those who haven't reached the top will be eliminated." Her tone wasn't so polite to others, and the smile on her face had disappeared. Zichen also retreated to the side. Previously, he had attacked repeatedly, but he couldn't shake the front at all. In addition, the appearance of this figure proved that there were rules here that needed to be followed. The others were also waiting. People continued to climb the stairs, and at a glance, there were more than 1,000 people. The figure of the figure was still fading in and out. The platform was silent. After the time it takes to burn an incense stick. The woman's figure looked at the people around and said indifferently, "Those who haven't reached the top will be eliminated." A powerful force suddenly emerged from the 9 paths. Those who were still halfway up the mountain, and those who were close to the peak, were sent flying. The others braced themselves and looked ahead. A new test was coming. The woman looked at the crowd and said, "If you want to enter, it's actually very simple. You just need to survive." Everyone was puzzled. What did he mean by going in alive? The illusory female figure raised a finger and continued, "In other words, only one person can enter alone." Everyone was stunned for a moment before whispers could be heard. There were over 1,000 people here, so what was going on if only one person could enter? Zichen also looked at the illusory figure and could tell that the other party was not joking. The illusory female figure stretched out 2 fingers and said, "There are 2 methods, do you want to hear them?" The discussions in the surroundings immediately stopped. Everyone looked at the other party, whose figure had become illusory. The woman's figure appeared, and she said, "The first method is simple and violent, which is to fight until the last survivor. The second method was relatively simple, and that was for everyone to sit down and discuss who was more suitable to enter. Personally, I'm more inclined towards the latter, because there's no need to fight. Naturally, there's no need to fight to the death. Wouldn't it be nice to be so amiable?" Everyone looked at each other. Everyone had different backgrounds, so who was more suitable to give the quota to? The discussion started again. The illusory female figure stopped talking and retreated at the same time, as if waiting for everyone to choose. Zichen looked at the barrier behind him, his expression changing. The illusory female figure smiled playfully and said, "Little brother, if you don't ask for everyone's consent, it's impossible to enter. You can only enter if everyone agrees. During this period, as long as one person doesn't agree, then you won't be able to enter." Zichen's idea of entering was exposed, and many people cast cold gazes at him. Zichen retreated. If he continued to stay here, he would definitely become the target of public criticism. He knew that he was very strong, but he was not strong enough to sweep away everyone present. The surrounding people discussed animatedly, and their gazes swept over here from time to time. When they looked at Zichen, their eyes were filled with hostility. Xiao Lei and the other members of the Holy Thunder clan walked towards Zichen. When they walked to Zichen's side, they realized that Lei Wuxing did not come up. They were all stunned and puzzled. Zichen stood there and did not speak, trying not to be too ostentatious. Under such circumstances, being ostentatious would only result in death. "Everyone, why don't you give this opportunity to our Holy Moon clan?" At this moment, Yu Butian suddenly said, "I, Yu Butian, guarantee that if we can obtain the opportunity, then all the major forces will share it equally." "All the major forces will share it equally. What about us small forces?" A woman's voice sounded. It was Kui Jing. She looked at Yu Butian and said, "There are many forces here, so how can it be fair? Or rather, who should take more and who should take less?" The surrounding people nodded. This was indeed a problem. Yu Butian said, "Then I wonder if anyone has any opinions. After all, only one person can enter." Everyone was silent. No one could give any opinions on this matter. There was not even any room for discussion. Zichen looked around. Although it seemed that everyone was silent, they were all secretly communicating. With so many opportunities, it was impossible to give them to any force casually. Even if they could not obtain it, no one else could. It was better to die in glory than to live in dishonor. This was the motto of almost all the forces. The atmosphere was silent. Everyone had their own thoughts. "Oh, I forgot to tell you. If you don't want to participate, you can abstain. If you participate, there will be a time limit." The woman's projection stretched out a slender finger and said, "If you can't choose a suitable person within 2 hours, then everyone will be disqualified." As soon as she said that, everyone's expression changed. Almost without hesitation, a battle broke out. Brother Zichen, at this time, the major forces should join forces and drive away the other small forces first. Yu Butian's voice sounded in Zichen's mind. Just as this voice was heard, Kui Jing's voice also sounded. "Zichen, we small forces are willing to form an alliance with the Holy Thunder clan." "That's right, we're willing to." Then, another person yelled. Unlike Yu Butian, these voices were out in the open. They obviously wanted to form an alliance with Zichen. As a result, the situation became interesting. The various forces did not want to form an alliance with the major forces. They only wanted to form an alliance with Zichen. On the other side, Yu Butian transmitted his voice again and waited for Zichen's reply. The woman's projection stood at the side and chuckled. Most of her eyes were on Zichen. Zichen stood there without moving. The others had already started fighting. The major forces immediately joined forces to drive away the small forces. Only Zichen's Holy Thunder Clan did not move. Zichen, we can only survive if we join forces. Otherwise, after the major forces drive us away, it will be your Holy Thunder Clan's turn next. Do you really think they are willing to form an alliance with you? Kui Jing's voice sounded again. Someone had already attacked her. Chapter 41:36. Since the battle had already begun, Zichen no longer hesitated. He chose to remain neutral. It was better for both sides to fight first to preserve their strength. As if they had seen through Zichen's intentions, the battle continued to draw closer to him, and waves of aftershocks spread out. If Zichen wanted to remain neutral, of course, they wouldn't agree. Protect. Looking at the crowd that was gradually approaching, Zichen only said 2 words. Several holy spirits of the Holy Thunder Clan immediately stepped forward and jointly propped up a defensive light shield, blocking all the aftershocks outside. In another direction, the leader of a large force gave an order. An attack that seemed to have missed its target slanted and landed on the protective light shield. With a loud bang, the light shield began to tremble. Ripples appeared, but it didn't collapse. Zichen's gaze fell to the front and locked onto a person. At this moment, a second attack appeared and accidentally landed on the light shield again. The woman's shadow looked at this scene and said with a smile, "Little brother, you can't do this, okay? If you don't join the battle, you will become the target of siege." Boom. 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 More attacks came and directly destroyed Zichen's protection. Kill. Zichen held the staff and shield in his hands, shouted, and took the lead to rush out. His target was the first person who missed its target. Regardless of the other party's identity, Zichen smashed down with his staff. With a loud bang, the other party's body flew out and landed outside the mountain peak. This person was disqualified. Then, Zichen's figure flashed again and appeared in front of the second person, smashing down with his staff again. This person was the second person to attack the Holy Thunder Clan. Boom. As expected, the other party was disqualified with a single strike. Zichen's attack was very measured. At least, he didn't immediately kill them. Those who were disqualified could only watch from outside the mountain peak. On the mountain peak, Zichen smashed down one person with his staff. There was almost no need for a second strike. Someone in the crowd shouted, "Kill Zichen first. With him here, the others don't even have the right to do so." In an instant, dozens of energy beams shot towards Zichen. A shield appeared in Zichen's hand. The light Dun Li enlarged and blocked these attacks. Zichen's figure retreated continuously. The light shield had only blocked a portion of the attacks, but not all of them. This was because many of them were power attacks that were exceptionally ferocious. Fortunately, Zichen's physical body had also improved a lot, so he was able to block most of these attacks. After the first wave of attacks, another wave of attacks came. In an instant, all the attacks were directed at Zichen. Facing a siege, Zichen could only defend himself. "Zichen, we're here to help you." Kui Jing rushed towards Zichen and blocked an attack for Zichen. At the same time, 2 9-star holy spirits came to Kui Jing's side, one on the left and one on the right. At the same time, several people came to Zichen's side and blocked several attacks for Zichen. The rest of the Holy Thunder Clan stood guard around and fought with others. In short, the current battlefield had become extremely chaotic. It was no longer easy to distinguish who was an ally and who was an enemy. As long as there was an opportunity to attack, allies could become enemies at any time. The battlefield was extremely chaotic. However, the woman's illusory figure stood at the side and watched the show. In her eyes, those life and death battles were just wonderful performances. After a quarter of an hour, more than half of the people on the platform were gone. The forces retreated, and there was a brief pause on the battlefield. On Zichen's side, several people had been eliminated from the previous chaotic battle. Now, there were 5 people left, including Little Ray. Next to him, there were only 3 people left. As for the other forces, there were not many left. Some forces had even been completely eliminated. Relatively speaking, the major forces still had the most people. Everyone retreated to the periphery, leaving the battle zone in the middle. There were bloodstains on the ground, but there were no corpses. The atmosphere was silent and very solemn. Zichen suddenly walked out. His eyes swept through the crowd and finally fell on Lei Hongtian. He said coldly, "Because of your selfishness, you've caused an extreme core to lose his qualification." Lei Hongtian said angrily, "I don't know what you're talking about." Zichen walked towards Lei Hongtian. "Since you've chosen to be shameless, then I don't need to give you any face." Outside the crowd, Lei Hongtian's face immediately changed when he saw this scene. Obviously, Zichen was going to attack his big brother. This made him very anxious. He cursed loudly, but unfortunately, his voice could not be heard inside. "Zichen, we're all from the same clan now. We should join forces against the outside world," a 9-star Holy Spirit beside Lei Hongtian said in a deep voice. Zichen smiled sarcastically. "You don't deserve to be part of my clan." As soon as his voice fell, Zichen instantly sped up. Like a stream of light, he went straight towards Lei Hongtian. The others immediately retreated. They did not expect that the end of a chaotic battle would turn into a personal grudge battle. However, everyone was happy to see this scene. As Zichen rushed towards Lei Hongtian, several 9-star Holy Spirits rushed out to intercept Zichen. "Get lost!" Zichen shouted angrily. A powerful energy surged out. He had directly mobilized the power of the ancient thunder flame. An all-out attack. Boom! The energy roared. A 9-star Holy Spirit was sent flying and lost his qualification. Zichen attacked again, still at full strength. The vibrating ancient power made many people feel uncomfortable. At this moment, everyone was watching Zichen fight alone. In other words, it was a performance. Those powerful Holy Spirits from the Holy Thunder Clan could not withstand a single blow from Zichen. Often, it would only take one blow to send them flying and lose their qualification. Of course, Zichen did not kill them. There were more than 20 people following Lei Hongtian. Among them, there were 4 9-star Holy Spirits. However, with Zichen's attack, the strong opponents in everyone's eyes lost their qualification one by one. During this period, even with the protection of the shield, Zichen still felt uncomfortable. He coughed up blood twice. However, he still had no intention of stopping. Obviously, the grudge between him and Lei Hongtian was irreconcilable. Lei Hongtian was anxious outside. Zichen, this damn guy, did not care about the rules. Even if the two sides could not join forces, they should not kill each other. Lei Hongtian stood there and looked at the approaching Zichen. He said indifferently, "Zichen, I will definitely report this to the Sacred Lord. You disregarded the situation and attacked me forcefully. This is against the orders of the Holy Thunder Clan." Zichen came close and swung his staff. The power of the ancient thunder flame surged out. Lei Hongtian's defense was shattered in an instant. Zichen's response echoed between heaven and earth. Get lost. Chapter 41-37. Unsurprisingly, Lei Hongtian was swept away by the staff and lost his qualification. Blood spurted out of his mouth in mid-air. Lei Hongtian stood in the air outside the mountain peak. His eyes were spitting fire. He had previously communicated with several major forces that the Lei family would get a share of the resources. However, Zichen had eliminated him. Naturally, the previous agreement was not valid. He turned around and wanted to vent his anger on the bereaved. However, he never thought that Lei Wuxing would be standing there. His eyes were cold and full of warning. Humph! Lei Hongtian snorted coldly. He could offend Zichen, but he would never dare to offend Lei Wuxing. Asterisk 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 Lei Hongtian was disqualified. Zichen's face became pale. He was very powerful and had disqualified dozens of people. However, he had consumed a lot of energy and was also injured. This made many people's faces change. The powerful Zi Chen was like an injured tiger. Was there an opportunity to take advantage of this? Zi Chen withdrew his staff and glanced around. Many people subconsciously avoided his eyes. Zi Chen slowly walked towards the place where the Holy Thunder Clan was located. During this period, many people looked at his back and their expressions changed. What is this called? Letting everyone relax their vigilance in advance. Kui Jing muttered as she looked at Zi Chen, who was walking back. Zi Chen was also very clear that the major forces would inevitably take action against him after the small forces were disqualified. This was not surprising because Zi Chen had fought several major forces alone and obtained the celestial crystal lode. The others had been holding a grudge against him for a long time. Today, they certainly would not let go of this opportunity to get back at him. But now, Zi Chen had made the first move, and had even injured himself. This was something worth pondering over. In this case, Zi Chen's threat was naturally much smaller. If the major forces took action at this moment, their chances of winning would be higher. However, there were still many small forces. Once both sides were injured, the small forces might take advantage of the situation. Thus, it was very likely that they would eliminate the smaller powers. But what Kui Jing couldn't understand was why Zi Chen was doing this, because in the end, the big forces would still make a move against him. Just as he was guessing Zi Chen's intentions, a person suddenly walked out. The Desolate He clan challenges the Holy Glory clan today. Since it was a challenge, it was naturally not a battle to the death. The originally silent atmosphere changed slightly, and the attention of those who were still hesitating whether to attack Zi Chen or not was also diverted. A muscular man walked forward. He looked in the direction of the Holy Glory tribe and said, "I am He Lianzi from the Desolate He tribe. I invite the Holy Glory tribe to fight." The Holy Glory race had more than 40 people, while the Desolate He family only had 5 people left. The leader was the mysterious leader that Zi Chen had seen before, but he did not participate in the battle. The leader of the Holy Glory clan was a 9-star Holy Spirit. However, he would not participate in the challenge of a clan, let alone an 8-star Holy Spirit. At his signal, an 8-star Saint Spirit walked out. The two of them cupped their fists and greeted each other. Both of them were 8-star Holy Spirits of the same realm, but it was widely acknowledged that Holy Spirits of the same realm were stronger than others. A broadsword appeared in He Lianzi's hand. After the greetings, he rushed forward. Zi Chen returned to the team and looked at He Lianzi. He had an impression of this clan. Back then, He Wei wanted to establish his power, but unfortunately, he chose the Holy Thunder clan and was defeated. However, today, He Lianzi chose to challenge the Holy Glory clan at this time. This was not simple. Zi Chen looked at the battlefield and did not understand why He Lianzi would stand out at this time. Shouldn't he hide his powerful combat strength? It was only 5 strikes. After 5 strikes, the 8-star Holy Spirit from the Holy Glory clan was disqualified and sent flying. There was an uproar. Someone could suppress the Holy Clan in the same realm? Furthermore, the outcome of the battle was decided so easily. He Lianzi held his broadsword and said proudly, "I challenge the 9-star Holy Spirit from the Holy Glory clan. I wonder if anyone will accept the challenge?" As soon as he said that, the faces of the people around changed again. He actually wanted to challenge someone of a higher realm. How confident was he? Another person from the Holy Glory clan walked out. However, he was not a 9-star Holy Spirit, but an 8-star Holy Spirit. Obviously, as one of the 4 holy clans, the Holy Glory clan could not afford to lose face. The two sides started the battle. This time, the 8-star Holy Spirit from the Holy Glory clan also had a soul weapon. Zi Chen looked at the battle in front and vaguely understood the He clan's intention. No matter how strong their combat strength was, it was impossible for them to be the last one after the major forces joined forces. Rather than that, it was better to let someone fight in advance and make a name for the Desolate He clan. In this battle, both sides were evenly matched. In the end, both sides were injured and were disqualified. The leader of the Holy Glory clan looked a little ugly. The leader of the He clan was still calm. Then, the second person walked out from behind him. I challenge the 9-star Holy Spirit from the Holy Star clan. I wonder if anyone will accept the challenge? It was unexpected that the battle would turn out like this. With such a name being called out, the Holy Star race naturally also sent out someone. A 9-star Saint Spirit stood out. The woman's shadow watched quietly and did not rush him, even though a lot of time had passed. In this battle, the 9-star Holy Spirit from the Holy Star clan used all kinds of powerful combat skills of the Holy Star clan. However, he still lost. There was an uproar. Goodbye. The person from the He clan who held the soul blade cupped his fist at the Holy Star clan and voluntarily gave up the qualification. Then, the last two people from the He clan walked out and challenged the Metal clan and the Fire clan respectively. They each defeated a 9-star Holy Spirit. They did not challenge the Holy Thunder clan or the Holy Moon clan. No one knew if it was because the two clans had the lost sky crystal. The last leader of the He clan was left. Just as everyone was wondering if he would take the initiative to challenge, he said, "Everyone, the desolate He clan gives up this fight." Everyone was surprised. They did not expect him to give up so easily. At this moment, two people behind Kui Jing also walked out. They each challenged a 9-star Holy Spirit. After winning, the two of them took the initiative to leave. Then, Kui Jing said that the Kui clan also gave up. Everyone remembered the two clans who gave up because they both had soul weapons, which was extremely rare. Many forces had already made up their minds. After leaving here, they would ask the two clans if they had any extra soul weapons to sell. After the individual battles ended, another chaotic battle broke out. The major forces still joined forces to defeat the smaller forces. During this period, the Holy Thunder clan was also not spared. The number of people around Zi Chen decreased one after another. In the end, only Zi Chen was left. At this time, the smaller forces had all been eliminated. The remaining ones had all given up. There were still nearly 100 people on the major forces side. After all the conflicts were over, the nearly 100 people looked at Zi Chen with extremely cold eyes. Obviously, it was the Holy Thunder clan's turn next. Chapter 41-38. In the previous battle, the Holy Thunder clan had received special treatment. Therefore, the people around them had been eliminated one by one, leaving only Zi Chen. Zi Chen stood there alone, his face still pale. "Give up. Isn't there only one spot left?" Yu Butian said, "Brother Zi Chen, are you so confident that you can defeat so many of us and get that spot?" Zi Chen immediately put away his staff and shield and said with a relaxed expression, "Of course I'm not confident. Moreover, we're allies. Why do we have to fight and kill each other? Didn't you say before that there's something inside that everyone can share? So, it's not too much for me to stay here and take a share, right?" Everyone was stunned. They didn't expect Zi Chen to say such a thing. But wasn't this too shameless? You only have one person left. Who gave you the courage to share the spoils with the rest of us? We're allies. Why do we have to fight and kill each other? You've attacked many of your allies before, haven't you? You're really shameless. Zi Chen, don't even think about sharing the resources with us. Before Yu Butian could speak, Yu Buhuai snorted coldly. Don't even think about it. Absolutely impossible. The leader of the Holy Star clan also expressed his stance indifferently. We refuse to share the spoils with the Holy Thunder clan. The Five Elements Metal clan also expressed their stance. Following that, one after another, the major forces expressed their stance. They could share the spoils equally, but the Holy Thunder clan was not included. Looking at everyone, Zi Chen said in confusion, "What do you mean? Aren't we allies?" The leader of the Holy Star clan sneered. "Isn't it a little too late to talk about allies now?" Zi Chen said in a deep voice, "You think that because I'm injured, I'm easy to bully and I'm not qualified to be your equal, right?" No one responded to Zi Chen, but everyone's sneers were already the best response. Zi Chen's face darkened. "It seems that the previous incident didn't teach you a lesson. Since you're so forgetful, I'll tell you one more time. Even if I'm the only one left in the Holy Thunder clan, I'm definitely not someone you can belittle." As soon as these words came out, The eyes of the major forces turned even colder. In the previous battle at the mineral vein, they had almost become a joke. So many of them were unable to do anything to a mere Holy Thunder clan. Now that Zichen mentioned the past again, it could be said that it had ignited the anger in their hearts. For a moment, his killing intent was boundless. Originally, everyone wanted to spare Zichen's life, but at this moment, they all wanted to kill him. At this moment, there were not many people still standing on the mountain peak. They had all voluntarily given up their qualifications and did not want to leave. Seeing that the various forces were going to gang up on Zichen, everyone's eyes lit up with anticipation. After all, they could watch the battle up close. However, now that Zichen was injured, they weren't sure how long Zichen could last. It was almost impossible for him to win. No one thought that Zichen could win like last time. I've been underestimated again. Zichen shook his head and smiled. It doesn't matter if you underestimate me, but you can't underestimate the Holy Thunder clan. After all, once the Holy Thunder clan is angry, the entire Saint Spirit realm will tremble. After saying that, a weapon appeared in Zichen's hand again. This time, it wasn't the long staff from before, but a long spear. This was the weapon that Zichen had obtained from the Holy Talisman realm. It could be considered as the final reward. A tyrannical aura was released from the long spear, like a spiritual storm that swept out. Everyone's expression changed drastically. This was because this storm actually contained a dense death energy. Zichen smiled coldly. Light flashed again, and a shield that matched the spear appeared. With Zichen as the center, endless death energy spread out in all directions. What grade is this soul weapon? Sensing Zichen's current state, everyone's faces were filled with shock. As for Kui Jing, who wasn't far from Zichen, she had no choice but to put up a defense. They looked at Zichen in disbelief. Clearly, they didn't expect him to have such a method. Only Yu Butian had a smile on his face. The woman's projection sized up Zichen. Her eyes seemed to see through Zichen's body and saw the essence of his soul power. Her gaze changed. Everyone, I'll tell you one more thing today. No matter what, I, Zichen, am definitely not someone you can underestimate. Our Holy Thunder clan is also not something you can underestimate. Zichen held the long spear and rushed forward. At this moment, he challenged the major forces with his own strength again. The major forces weren't scared. When Zichen rushed forward, they also attacked aggressively. Compared to last time, the combat power of the survivors here was stronger, and some of them had soul weapons. They admitted that Zichen was very strong, but with the absolute advantage in numbers, they were still confident that they could eliminate Zichen, or even kill him on the spot. Zichen's spear pierced forward, and the defense of a 9-star Saint Spirit was broken. The spear pierced through the Saint Spirit's heart, and with a powerful shockwave, the 9-star Saint Spirit was sent flying. He was disqualified. Compared to last time, Zichen deliberately held back and didn't kill. The others watched this battle, and the shock on their faces didn't disappear. As the fierce battle continued, the number of people was decreasing. Under the surging ripples, Yu Butian glanced to the side, and Yu Buhuai also rushed forward. At this moment, except for a few leaders, the experts of the major forces all rushed towards Zichen. But it was still useless. After Zichen used the spear and shield, his combat power was raised to the peak. One existence after another was eliminated, until there was no one left in front of Zichen. Outside the mountain peak, the spectators who had already lost their qualifications were also extremely shocked. The combat power Zichen displayed was too strong. At this moment, Zichen held the spear and shield, and pointed at the leaders, and said indifferently, "Everyone, do you have anything else to say?" The leaders' faces were very ugly. Zichen had surprised them again. At this moment, even though Zichen looked very weak, they still didn't have the confidence to defeat Zichen. Just as the leaders were hesitating, Yu Butian suddenly said, "We admit that Brother Zichen has strong combat power, but Brother Zichen is the only one left in the Holy Thunder clan. Brother Zichen, do you want to give up this opportunity?" Zichen looked at Yu Butian and said, "Give up? Yu Butian, was your head squashed by a door, or kicked by a donkey? Aren't you the ones who should give up now? Why, Do I have to poke a hole in each of your bodies before you are willing to leave? The smile on Yu Butian's face didn't fade, and he continued, since Brother Zichen isn't willing to give up, I have a move that I hope Brother Zichen can break. Yu Butian took a step forward and formed a seal with his hands, and a strange power spread out. A gap appeared in the sky, and holy spirits descended from the sky. They were from the Holy Moon clan. 1, 2, 3, and in the blink of an eye, 8 people appeared. Chapter 41-39. In the blink of an eye, 8 9-star divine spirits appeared on the mountain peak. They were all from the Holy Moon clan and each of them had a soul weapon in their hands. They had come prepared. This scene gave everyone a fright. How could they summon people out of thin air? Even Zichen's expression changed. Currently, he was barely able to fight against the leaders. Previously, he was just putting on a show of bravado. The eyes of the woman's projection flashed, as if she was surprised by this scene. Yu Butian smiled and said, Brother Zichen, look, you're the only one left from the Holy Thunder clan. I think it's better for you to give up now. What do you think, Brother Zichen? I'm sorry, the word give up has never been in my mind. Zichen looked at the other leaders and said, everyone, now that things have come to this, what are you still thinking about? Let's join forces to fight against the Holy Moon clan and divide the resources equally. Hesitation appeared on the faces of the leaders. No matter when, benefits always came before everything else. Unexpectedly, Yu Butian continued, Brother Zichen, you're wrong. We've already agreed to form an alliance. How can you deliberately break up our alliance at this time? When the other leaders heard this, they all breathed a sigh of relief. Zichen was very surprised. Yu Butian clearly had the absolute advantage, but he was still willing to share an opportunity with everyone at this time. Since they couldn't form an alliance, they naturally had to change their strategy. Zichen continued, in that case, let's form an alliance again. Anyway, you don't lack one more person. As soon as his voice fell, Zichen felt the disdainful gazes from all around, but Zichen pretended not to see it. Yu Butian said, I'm sorry, that's impossible. Zichen said, really? Yu Butian nodded seriously. Just when everyone thought that Zichen was going to fight again, they heard Zichen immediately say, all right, I give up. There was an uproar again. Giving up just like that? Shouldn't he at least persist until the end? Where's his integrity? Didn't he just say that the word give up had never been in his mind? Or rather, where was his face? Zichen's straightforward choice left Yu Butian slightly stunned, as if he couldn't immediately react. Fortunately, his mental fortitude was also extraordinary. He coughed lightly and said, since that's the case, everyone, can I represent everyone to enter and take the resources? No one had any objections because at this moment, they didn't have the upper hand. Of course, they would do whatever Yu Butian said. However, what Zichen didn't understand was that there were clearly many powerhouses in the Holy Moon clan, so why would they let Yu Butian be the leader? The others were not surprised either. They all looked as if it was a matter of course. Yu Butian walked forward. The barrier that Zichen couldn't open no matter how hard he tried actually opened for Yu Butian. Yu Butian smiled and turned his head to look at the woman's shadow. He did not know when she had disappeared. Yu Butian continued forward and arrived in front of the main hall. At that moment, everyone's eyes were on Yu Butian and the palace. Only Kui Jing's eyes flickered as she watched Zichen's back view. Zichen was also looking at Yu Butian. It would be a lie to say that he wasn't disappointed, but he had done his best in this battle. If the Holy Moon clan could find 8 9-star divine spirits, they would definitely be able to find 8 more. Therefore, Zichen had no way of winning this battle. He could only watch helplessly as Yu Butian obtained the final opportunity. There was no doubt that the Holy Moon clan was the biggest winner. Yu Butian arrived in front of the main hall. He took a deep breath as his eyes were filled with anticipation. He touched the main hall with both hands and prepared to use his strength to push open the door. At this moment, a powerful shockwave came from above the palace door, directly sending Yu Butian flying. There was a small commotion at the back, but many people's eyes lit up as their hearts were filled with anticipation. How could this be? Yu Butian stood up abruptly. There was an obvious change in his usually calm expression. The woman's shadow that had disappeared earlier appeared again. She looked at Yu Butian and said regretfully, "It seems that you have not been recognized." "Do I still need to be recognized?" Yu Butian said angrily. "I am already the one who has been recognized." "Everyone has agreed." The woman's shadow said, "That's true, but you have not been recognized by the main hall's spirit, so you cannot enter." "I don't believe it." Yu Butian rushed forward, clearly wanting to try again. The result was the same. It was even worse because Yu Butian was injured and coughed up blood. The woman's shadow's originally indifferent expression became colder. "If you try again next time, you will die." Yu Butian, who had landed on the ground, was in a daze. How could this be? Is the opportunity here going to end? The woman's shadow said, "You have failed, but it doesn't mean that the others will fail. Speaking of which, there are so many of you. Why did they only send you out? Are you stronger, or is your cultivation level higher?" Yu Butian's mood could be imagined when he heard that. For the other members of the Holy Moon clan, this was an opportunity. After exchanging glances with each other, they immediately arranged for the next person to be chosen. A 9-star divine spirit from the Holy Moon clan. He walked past Yu Butian, nodded at him, and then walked forward. Unsurprisingly, he was sent flying. The 9-star divine spirit was stunned. He was a little dejected and turned around to retreat. With the Holy Moon clan's divine spirit, no one else had a chance, so they tried one after another. But no one succeeded. Not a single one. The woman's shadow stood there, waiting silently, until all the people from the Holy Moon clan were disqualified. Those who had already given up but did not leave also had hope ignited in their hearts at this moment. The leader of the Holy Star clan walked forward and said, "Do you want me to try?" Yu Butian nodded. At this moment, he was still in a daze. The Holy Moon clan had prepared for so long, but they did not expect this to be the result. Under everyone's attention, the leader of the Holy Star clan stepped forward and tried. He was no different from the others. Next was the Holy Glory clan. The 5 elements, metal, wood, water, fire, and earth, all tried one by one, but they did not succeed. All the major forces had lost their qualifications. At this moment, the leader of the He clan stepped forward and said, "Do you want me to try?" No one had any objections because if the major forces had failed, how could the people from the small forces succeed? The leader of the He clan stepped forward excitedly, but then he was sent flying in disappointment. Then, the other leaders stepped forward. In the outside world, those who had been eliminated were all regretful. If they had known this would happen, why would they have fought? They might have succeeded. After even Kui Jing failed, Zi Chen suddenly said, "Do you want me to try?" Everyone had tried, so they did not care about Zi Chen. Zi Chen walked forward and walked to the door of the main hall. Yu Butian thought of something and suddenly said, "No, Zi Chen, you are not allowed to try." Unfortunately, his words were too late. The moment Zi Chen stretched out his hand, an intense light exploded. Chapter 4140. Zi Chen had disappeared. The shadow of the woman who had been standing there had also disappeared without a trace. Yu Butian's face was full of annoyance and regret. He should have guessed it. The shadow of the woman had not left for a long time. She must be waiting for something. During this period, she had frequently paid attention to Zi Chen. Obviously, she had long identified her target. Under such circumstances, no matter how many people tried, it would be useless. Only Zi Chen could succeed. Unfortunately, his reaction was too slow. Everyone around was taken aback. Had Zi Chen succeeded? Damn it. Yu Butian rushed forward, wanting to follow him into the main hall. However, as soon as he approached the main hall, a powerful force shook him back. Others stepped forward and looked at the main hall in front of them. Their expressions were extremely complicated. Originally, they had thought that it was impossible for anyone to get the opportunity, so they let everyone try. Who would have thought that it would turn out like this? If they had known that Zi Chen could be recognized, the Holy Moon clan would never have given Zi Chen this opportunity. They would rather die than live in Dishana. The people outside also exclaimed one after another. They were all in disbelief. On the side of the Holy Thunder clan, everyone had a smile on their faces. Those from the Lost clan were also very surprised. Only Tasha's expression was very calm, as if she had expected this scene. Only at this moment did she truly feel at ease. It seemed that the vision she saw when she entered this place back then was not an illusion. Asterisk 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 Zi Chen stood in a space instead of entering the main hall. This place was empty, and nothing could be seen. He looked very calm, calmly looking around, as if he was not surprised at all. In fact, when everyone failed one after another, Zi Chen had already guessed that he might succeed because that familiar feeling still existed. Little brother, you don't seem to be surprised that you are here at all. The voice of the shadow of the woman sounded from behind. Zi Chen looked back at her and said, I guessed it before. The woman looked up and down at Zi Chen and said, Do you think this is a very lucky thing? Zi Chen nodded and said, Of course. The woman said, All right then. Let's see how far your luck can go. The woman immediately waved her hand. In the next moment, Zi Chen disappeared from this space and appeared in front of the palace door. Beneath his feet were stone steps that extended all the way to the main hall. Go on, the thing you want is inside. The woman pointed at the main hall and said. The main hall was less than 1,000 feet away. With such a short distance, Zi Chen could reach it in the blink of an eye. Even if he walked slowly, it wouldn't take long. Is it inside? Zi Chen asked. He was a little uncertain because it seemed to be too easy. Of course, it's inside, the woman said with a smile. She seemed to be smiling a lot more now that she was in front of Zi Chen. However, at this moment, there was a different meaning in her smile. Zi Chen walked forward. 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps. He was very careful, but nothing unexpected happened. This put him at ease and he continued to walk forward. When he was 90 feet away, a light suddenly appeared in front of Zi Chen. It was an existence wearing armor, standing abruptly in front of him. Zi Chen subconsciously stepped back because the aura coming from the other party was so strong that he felt a strong threat. If you want to continue, you have to take a punch from him. After the other party appeared, he didn't say anything. It was the woman's shadow who spoke. Just 1 punch? Zi Chen asked again. Yes, just 1 punch. After that, you can continue to move forward. The woman's shadow nodded and said. All right, come on. Zi Chen got into a stance and stood there motionless. The man's figure flashed and appeared in front of Zi Chen. Wearing armor, he didn't look clumsy or bloated. He threw a punch. This punch appeared to be nothing out of the ordinary, as if Zhong Xian was intentionally going easy on him. However, in the instant that the punch moved, an indescribable aura surged toward him. It was as if a giant dragon suddenly jumped out of a calm sea, causing a storm. Zi Chen was hit in the chest by the punch. He could clearly feel a strange power entering his body through the other party's fist. This power instantly filled his body. It didn't hurt his soul power or abdomen, but only his physical body. All the bones in his body broke in an instant, making popping sounds like beans being fried. An indescribable pain surged through Zi Chen's body, causing a scene from many years ago to appear in his mind. At that time, there was a sanctimonious monk who had used a similar method to shatter his bones. Zi Chen's body fell limply to the ground as he lost consciousness. The existence wearing armor disappeared after throwing a punch. There was an empty space in front of him. Just as the woman's shadow said, as long as he took a punch, he could continue to move forward. Unfortunately, Zi Chen couldn't stand up. The woman's shadow squatted beside Zi Chen. Looking at the unconscious Zi Chen, she clicked her tongue and said, just 1 punch and he fainted. I really don't know how you cultivated your body. The woman's shadow didn't leave immediately. Instead, she sat beside him and waited quietly. She didn't have any intention of helping Zi Chen. If one looked carefully, they would see that there was a power slowly recovering in Zi Chen's body. This power was left behind by the previous person. As it recovered, it was also healing Zi Chen's broken bones. After an unknown amount of time, Zi Chen opened his eyes and woke up. At this moment, his body was still in unbearable pain. His broken bones hadn't healed, but he could feel the strange healing power. He slowly sat up and crossed his legs to heal his injuries. Before that, Zichen deliberately looked around. The existence who threw a punch had disappeared. The woman's shadow said while Zichen was sitting cross-legged, "You were killed by one punch. Your body is too weak." Zichen asked, "Is he a sacred venerable?" The woman chuckled. "If only he was a sacred venerable. But how can there be such a weak sacred venerable in the world?" Zichen was shocked that someone who wasn't a sacred venerable had knocked him out with one punch. However, the most important thing now was to heal his injuries. After an unknown amount of time, Zichen's body had completely recovered. He opened his eyes. The reason why he could recover so quickly was that there was a strange power in his body. This power could quickly heal his body. Zichen stood up and looked ahead. The woman's shadow said, "Congratulations. You can continue to move forward." Zichen glanced at her. The woman's shadow smiled and nodded, encouraging Zichen to move forward. Zichen took a deep breath and continued to move forward. There were no accidents and no dangers. He moved forward smoothly. However, after another 90 feet, another existence in armor appeared. Zichen wasn't sure if it was the previous person. The woman's shadow spoke on his behalf. As long as he blocked one punch, Zichen could continue to move forward. There was no other choice. Zichen chose to accept. Another punch. Chapter 41-41. Zichen felt that his understanding had taken a huge blow today. All of his confidence had been smashed into nothingness by these few punches. The reason for that was because every single punch had caused him to faint. It could be said that he had died 9 times today, and each time, he had been killed by a single punch. If the people outside knew about this, who knew what they would think? After 9 deaths, Zichen was only a few feet away from the main hall. The woman's projection stood beside him and looked at Zichen, who had recovered once again. She smiled and asked, "How do you feel?" Zichen stood up and said in a deep voice, "Very good, very powerful." After 9 deaths, the vitality left in each punch would also change his physical body. Therefore, compared to before, his physical body was much stronger. "I really don't know how you cultivated your physical body. It's actually so weak." The woman's projection shook her head and said, "No wonder you couldn't even withstand a single punch." Zichen was speechless. In fact, in terms of physical strength, Zichen had been cultivating time and time again, and was much stronger than his peers. His title of being invincible in the same realm had a lot to do with his strong physical body and tenacious vitality. However, he didn't expect that after arriving here, he would be unable to withstand a single blow. "There's more in front." Zichen looked at the door a few feet away and asked. The woman's projection said, "I'm not sure. You'll have to see for yourself." Zichen's eyes were filled with doubt. He didn't believe her. "It's true. I really don't know what's inside. I'm only responsible for bringing you here." The woman's projection said, "At the same time, I've also tempered your body a little. Otherwise, you won't be able to enter at all. Or rather, even if you can enter, you won't be able to withstand the power inside." This made Zichen even more curious about what was inside. At this moment, the power seed that had been shattered 9 times was swimming around his body. Zichen carefully moved forward. Indeed, there was no danger until he reached the main hall. It was still the same. Zichen turned around and glanced at the woman's shadow. She smiled encouragingly at Zichen. Zichen turned around and placed his hands on the door of the main hall. Before he could exert any force, a ray of light enveloped Zichen. Zichen's figure disappeared. Regardless of whether it was the first time he entered or this time, the door had never truly opened. The woman's virtual shadow looked at the disappearing Zichen, and the smile on her face gradually disappeared. She gave a low sigh. "I never understood your intentions, but seeing him appear today, I seem to understand. It seems that you had already expected this back then. But what exactly did you leave behind back then? What can it change?" After Zichen disappeared through the door of the main hall, he arrived at an unknown place. This place was like a passageway, and the surrounding space was filled with turbulent flows that occasionally streaked past him. Furthermore, the pressure here was extremely strong. Even though his physical body had been strengthened 9 times, he still felt a little uncomfortable. If not for the 9 deaths forged body, Zichen's physical body would have collapsed while standing in this passageway. This spacetime passageway was empty except for the turbulent flows that occasionally flashed past. Zichen walked forward. After just a few steps, he felt the pressure on his body grow stronger, and the light of power in his body began to flicker. Zichen stood in place and paused for a few breaths. When he felt that he could still hold on, he continued to walk forward. There was no sense of distance here. Behind and in front of him were the same, so even Zichen was not sure whether he had moved or stayed in place. The only thing that made him feel a little relieved was that as long as he walked, the pressure gradually grew stronger. It seemed to mean that he was not walking in place. After walking for an unknown period of time, a picture suddenly appeared in front of Zichen. In the picture, there were many crystals. Although he could only see the crystals in the picture, and he did not know how far away they were, Zichen had a clear feeling that they were a kind of power crystal. After refining them, they could increase one's strength. Zichen did not know where his feeling came from, and he was very puzzled. His footsteps did not stop. The power seed in his body suddenly began to devour the power around him. The spacetime power from this passageway was constantly converging towards his body. Just as the spacetime power passed through Zichen's body, it also quietly strengthened Zichen's body. The pressure was constantly growing stronger, and Zichen's body was also adapting. Suddenly, another picture appeared in front of him. This picture was filled with the light of power. These were the powers that Zichen had seen before. Even for his body, they had a great effect. At this moment, these powers filled his vision. There were countless of them. This was definitely a great opportunity. Once he brought it back, the overall strength of the Holy Thunder Clan would definitely be strengthened again. Zichen stretched out his hand and reached forward as if he wanted to forcibly take this picture away. However, just like the crescent moon in the water, the image disappeared after a few ripples appeared on the surface of the water. Zichen was a little depressed. He did not understand what was going on. He continued to walk forward. Not long after, he saw a picture of a blood dragon. Its body was extremely huge, filling the whole picture. Everywhere it passed, the rich power of the blood dragon destroyed everything. Countless planets exploded, and the holy spirits in them were all turned into ashes. There was no doubt that this was an evil dragon that took pleasure in destroying living creatures. Suddenly, the picture flashed. A huge fist broke through the sky and landed on the head of the blood dragon. The blood dragon's protective power was instantly shattered. With a wail, it fell to the ground. The picture continued to move. The blood dragon broke through layers of barriers and landed on a planet. Then, its body continued to fall and smashed into a mountain forest. "You beast, you still want to escape." A voice that made Zichen's soul tremble suddenly sounded. Then, a big foot appeared in the picture and stepped on the blood dragon's head. The blood dragon was not dead and was struggling. The voice said again, "You've done many evil things, and your death is not to be regretted. Since this is the place you chose to be buried, then let's make up for it here." The big foot instantly pressed down, and the blood dragon's body sank into the ground. The original mountain forest turned into a huge canyon. The blood dragon was dead. Blood flowed like a river. Looking at the scene that appeared in the picture, Zichen's expression suddenly changed because he thought of the blood dragon canyon. Could it be that the resources he mined came from here? But who was that voice that touched his soul as soon as it spoke? He actually killed the blood dragon with one step. How powerful was that? At this moment, Zichen suddenly saw a person appear in the picture. When he saw that person's tolerance, Zichen's expression changed drastically. This was because it was clearly Zichen himself, standing in the air above the canyon. The picture flashed, but Zichen saw it very clearly. He stood there motionless as if he had been struck by lightning. That person was clearly himself. However, Zichen knew very well that he had never been so powerful. A thought that had been buried in his heart for many years, and even made him afraid, involuntarily surfaced. His memories of himself were seen through the thunder sky. At that time, he seemed to be immortal. After reviving again and again, he forgot everything except his name. Could it be that his previous life was that person from before? Zichen was stunned and stopped moving forward. However, this spacetime channel began to move forward on its own, and Zichen saw one scene after another. He saw complete battle armors, strange cultivation techniques, and all kinds of strange things. In the end, Zichen saw a piece of land. It was only a few meters in radius, but it really existed. Zichen subconsciously took a step forward. He seemed to be moving forward in the torrent of time and stopped at a certain moment. He came to that piece of land. On this small piece of land, there was only a stone wall standing tall. The stone wall was as smooth as a mirror. Zichen walked forward, and his shadow was reflected in the stone wall. Zichen looked at his shadow, which seemed a little unfamiliar. Suddenly, ripples appeared on the stone wall in front of him. The shadow that belonged to Zichen quietly reached out and grabbed Zichen, bringing him into the stone wall. The ripples on the stone wall disappeared, and everything returned to normal. Zichen entered the stone wall and felt a strong sense of suffocation, as if someone was strangling his neck. He began to struggle with all his might. It was as if he was moving forward in the long river of time. He was aimless, and there were constantly changing scenes in front of him. Suddenly, a scene appeared in front of him, causing Zichen's expression to change. It was a canyon, and there was a river of blood in the canyon. It's the Blood Dragon Canyon. Zichen was shocked. Then, he walked forward and arrived in that space. At this moment, Zichen was like a shadow, standing in the void. The blood dragon below was dead, and a young Zichen was standing in the air. He looked forward, and there was a deep meaning in his bright eyes. This place is a little strange. The young Zichen smiled faintly, and then looked up at the sky. A ripple appeared in the sky, as if a strong force broke through the sky, and a light figure appeared. The light figure came in front of the young Zichen, and cupped his fists. This place is really hard to find. Zichen heard a familiar voice. When he turned around and saw the figure, he cried out in surprise. Lei Tianxia. The person who appeared next to the young Zichen was Lei Tianxia, whom Zichen knew. However, his cry seemed to have brought about a strange spatial fluctuation. The young Zichen keenly sensed the abnormality and immediately turned around. In his eyes, there was a light that was like the sun and moon, dazzling and eye-catching. The space and time that covered his vision seemed to be penetrated by his gaze. After countless years, the two Zichen met and looked at each other. The pupils of the two men constricted. P.S. One more. Chapter 41-42. Zichen stood in place, motionless. It was as if he had been immobilized at this moment. A pressure from the distant past penetrated the barrier of space and time and landed on his body. He looked at his other self. If that other self could be considered as himself. Who is it? The young Zichen suddenly shouted. A rolling pressure swept over and stirred the surrounding space. The distance between the two became distant again. Someone. Lei Tianxia turned his head curiously and looked in the direction that the young Zichen was looking at. However, he saw nothing. The pressure that fell on Zichen disappeared. The light in the young Zichen's eyes also disappeared. No one noticed the change in his eyes. Even Lei Tianxia didn't see it. He saw me. Zichen couldn't be sure because the two were not in the same space and time. If he really wanted to confirm the time, it would be millions of years away. My lord, what's wrong? Seeing that his lord was silent, Lei Tianxia asked in confusion. Lei Tian, what do you think of my lord's battle strength? The young Zichen suddenly asked. Lei Tian? The young Zichen was stunned. Isn't it Lei Tianxia? Lei Tian smiled and said, my lord's battle strength is unparalleled. Who in the spiritual realm doesn't know that? Is that so? The young Zichen lowered his head and looked at the dead blood dragon. Then, he looked around and muttered, could it be that this is all the will of the heavens? My lord, what's wrong? Lei Tian looked at the young Zichen. The young Zichen stretched out his hand and carefully looked at it. He said, Purple Soul, Chen Technique, Thunder Force. These are the strongest powers in the spiritual realm. How can this be? Boss, don't scare me. Lei Tian said worriedly, you killed the venerable blood dragon with one stomp. It should be the one feeling depressed. Boss, why are you feeling depressed? Is it because the power is too strong? Is my power strong? The young Zi Chen asked. Not strong. Boss, you are the true leader. If you are not strong, how can you lead the Thunder Clan? Lei Tian asked, Boss, what happened to you? The young Zi Chen nodded and said, in that case, I'll arrange something for you. Zi Chen had been looking at this scene the entire time. He saw the young Zi Chen suddenly take out something that gave off a dazzling light. It was so bright that Zi Chen couldn't open his eyes. In a daze, Zi Chen seemed to see a large hall. Then, a devouring force appeared, and Zi Chen's figure disappeared from this world. Just as Zi Chen disappeared, the young Zi Chen turned his head and glanced in the direction where he had disappeared. Boss, why did you give me the Zi Chen palace? Looking at the palace in front of him, Lei Tian asked doubtfully, isn't this my lord's treasure? This isn't the complete Zi Chen palace. I took half of it and it's missing the palace spirit. I'll leave it to you for now. The young Zi Chen said, don't ask me why, I have my own reasons. Also, don't tell Lei Di about this, lest he becomes suspicious and worried. Next, the young Zi Chen gave Lei Tian a few more things, then waved his hand and said, all right, you can go. Lei Tian put away the Zi Chen palace and left. After Lei Tian left, the young Zi Chen looked around, since this is the will of the heavens, then I'll follow the will of the heavens. Leave some leeway for everything. The young Zi Chen flew forward, and at the same time, his soul power surged out and covered the entire world. All the living beings in this world trembled when they sensed this powerful soul power. Creatures of this world, listen up. I will teach you spells, and you will guard the path for me. When the next generation arrives, you will be granted freedom. Asterisk 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 asterisk. When Zi Chen's consciousness returned, he found himself standing in front of the smooth stone wall. Everything that had happened before was like a dream. He shook his head a bit, then looked at his own shadow in front of him. The shadow was the same as before. There was nothing out of the ordinary. This made Zi Chen unable to determine whether what he saw just now was real or fake. At this moment, cracks suddenly appeared on the stone wall in front of them. In the next moment, the stone wall shattered into pieces. But they didn't collapse. Instead, as they fell, they triggered the power of space and time and flew in different directions. Zi Chen was a bit surprised. The small piece of land under his feet began to collapse. Zi Chen had no choice but to jump backwards, as if that was how he entered just now. After retreating, Zi Chen found himself standing in the middle of a grand hall. The space-time tunnel from before had disappeared. So many strange things had happened today that Zi Chen couldn't even react. I'm finally home. A woman's voice suddenly came from next to him. At some point, she had also arrived in the grand hall. Her face was full of smiles, as if she was reminiscing about everything she saw. What's going on? Zi Chen looked at the woman's projection. She turned around and said, don't you know? How would I know? How could you not know? If you don't know, who else in the world would know? Zi Chen was speechless, because he really didn't know. The woman's projection asked, what did you get? Zi Chen said, I didn't get anything. Impossible. If you didn't get anything, how did you get the recognition of this Zi Chen Hall? Zi Chen Hall, you're saying that this hall is called Zi Chen Hall? Zi Chen's expression changed. The woman's projection rolled her eyes and said, what else could it be? Let me see what's in here. Zi Chen didn't disturb her, so he didn't know what she saw. After a while, the woman looked up and said, there are many good things, but you can't take them away. Zi Chen asked, I've already gotten the recognition, so why can't I take the things here? The woman's projection rolled her eyes and said, I'm the hall spirit of this Zi Chen Hall, but I don't have a physical body either. I thought it was because I was isolated from the hall, but now it seems that this Zi Chen Hall is missing half of it. Missing half? Zi Chen was stunned. It was split in two by someone, and its spirit and soul were taken away, so that's how it is. The woman said, "You and I are the same now. You can take the hall away, but you can't touch a single thing inside." Zichen's expression changed several times and said, "What if I have it?" A palm-sized palace appeared in Zichen's hand. It was the Zichen hall that Lei Tianxia had given him. At that time, Lei Tianxia had told Zichen that the Zichen hall was refined from the core of the Tianwu continent, and that it didn't have a spirit. He also told Zichen that if he had time, he could find a spirit for it. "This is the other half. It's actually in your hands." The woman's projection's eyes suddenly blossomed with a dazzling light. "Can I use it?" Zichen asked. "Of course." The woman immediately stretched out her hand and took the Zichen hall. In this world, other than Zichen, she was probably the only one who could lift the Zichen hall so easily. In the next moment, the Zichen hall merged into the sky. Zichen didn't feel any changes, but the woman's projection in front of him had indeed turned from an illusion to a real one. She, who had turned into a real body, wore a long dress that looked like a phoenix's robe, and walked forward. "Little brother Zichen, I am the Hall Spirit Su, and I formally greet you. I trust you have been well since we last met." She came in front of Zichen, stretched out her two slender hands, and pinched Zichen's cheeks, and gently shook them. Zichen wanted to break free. Su smiled and said, "You were originally my little master, but unfortunately, your strength is too weak. I'm too embarrassed to bow to you, afraid that you won't be able to withstand it." Zichen struggled to take a few steps back and asked, "Who exactly are you?" Su blinked at Zichen and explained, "I'm the Hall Spirit Su. You're the master of the Zichen Hall, so of course you're my master." As she said that, Su was about to step forward and pinch Zichen's cheeks again. Zichen said in a deep voice, "Is this your attitude towards your master?" Su giggled and said, "But master, you're too weak. I can't do anything about it." It wasn't easy to meet master, so Su couldn't suppress the excitement in her heart. Moreover, being able to pinch master's face had always been Su's dream. "I didn't expect that my dream would come true today." Zichen was speechless. What kind of person was this? Fortunately, Su didn't keep teasing Zichen. When Zichen asked how many resources there were in the Zichen Hall, she began to calculate. After a while, the Hall Spirit Su said, "There are quite a few resources. As for how much you can use, it depends on you." "What do you mean?" Zichen asked in confusion. The Hall Spirit Su came in front of Zichen and pinched his cheeks again. She smiled and said, "You're the master of the Zichen Hall. Naturally, it depends on your strength. If you're strong, you can completely control the Zichen Hall. If you're weak, you can only control a little." Zichen closed his eyes and began to sense the Zichen Hall. However, other than a space, he couldn't sense anything. He tried a few times, but it was still the same. Zichen told the Hall Spirit Su about his situation. The Hall Spirit Su shook her head and said, "Pitiful, truly pitiful. Little brother, you're really too pitiful." The Hall Spirit Su clearly didn't seem to be joking. She looked at Zichen with pity. If this sentence was heard by others, they would definitely be despised. This was because Zichen had too many resources on him. Normally, he would even use soul-gathering crystals to feed his pets. His personal wealth had long surpassed the average faction. It was completely different from being pitiful. However, today, Zichen's worldview had been overturned. It had even reached the point where others felt pity for him. Palace Spirit Su looked at Zichen from head to toe and said, "Apart from your Thunderfire force, which is not bad, everything else seems to be a mess." "Ah!" Zichen looked at the Hall Spirit Su. "What are?" "From head to toe, other than the Thunderfire force, everything else is useless. Especially your physical body, it's simply too weak. I really don't know how you've lived until now." Chapter 41-43. The Hall Spirit Su belittled Zichen as if he was worthless. After scolding Zichen for a long time, the Hall Spirit Su said, "Because you are weak, you don't have the authority. But don't worry, little brother. As the Hall Spirit, I still have some authority. You can rest assured that we will help you build the foundation of your physical body." Hearing the Hall Spirit Su's words, Zichen had a bad feeling for some reason. But since the Hall Spirit Su had the authority, Zichen said, "Can I use the space inside?" The Hall Spirit Su asked, "What do you want to do with the space?" Zichen said, "I want to take some people away." This was what Zichen had planned for a long time. After failing to reach an agreement with the Holy Thunder Clan, he wanted to take the others away through the Hall Zichen. The Hall Spirit Su said, "If you want to take people away, you can take all the holy spirits in this world." Zichen felt relieved. Next, it was time to think about leaving. This was actually a very big problem, because when leaving, there would be a lot of worries and troubles. Zichen thought about it and asked the Hall Spirit Su a few more questions. Then, he had an idea. Zichen said, "Send me away first." Zichen had been in there for a long time. Everyone was waiting outside. Everyone was surprisingly patient. No one expressed that they wanted to leave. They didn't want to miss this opportunity. The previous restriction had not dissipated. The people outside were still unable to communicate with the people inside. Ubutian had been blaming himself because he had realized it too late. As a result, Zichen had taken advantage of the loophole. But thinking about it carefully, this was not a bad thing. If Zichen could not get the opportunity, then the opportunity here would be buried and the Holy Moon Clan's efforts would be in vain. As for whether Zichen would leave with the resources, he did not think about it because it was impossible. The Holy Moon Clan's many years of planning was not as simple as just recruiting a few people. If they wanted to, they could wipe out more than 90% of the people here in an instant. When he thought of the great formation that controlled this place, Ubutian became even more confident. No one knew what the leaders of the other forces were thinking. All of them were silent. The hall ahead was still closed, but there was nothing out of the ordinary. After an unknown period of time, ripples appeared in front of them. Zichen walked out of the ripples. The moment he appeared, the people of the Holy Moon Clan immediately stood up and walked forward. Zichen's path was blocked. What is the meaning of this? Zichen looked at the people in front of him, his eyes turning cold. Ubutian walked forward, and the people blocking Zichen spread out to the two sides. When he was in front of Zichen, Ubutian said, "We agreed on splitting the resources." "Split my ass," Zichen blurted out. "So, you're going back on your word?" Ubutian's smile disappeared. The other leaders also walked forward. Obviously, it was time to fight for the resources, so they naturally would not miss it. As for the others, they were just watching the show. No matter how the resources were distributed, it had nothing to do with them. Zichen pointed behind him and said, "The resources are inside. I want you to take them, but I didn't get anything." Just as Zichen was speaking, the restriction behind him disappeared. The mountain peak was connected to the people around it, and the original spectators flew over. The people of the major forces who had previously lost their qualifications all came over at this moment. The people of the Holy Thunder Clan naturally came to Zichen's side. At this moment, there was chaos all around. Zichen looked at the crowd and said, "I already told you that the resources are still inside, and I can't take them out." Of course, no one believed him. Zichen said angrily, "If you don't believe me, you can try it yourself." Just as the two sides were talking, Tasha and the others quietly came to Zichen's side, but no one cared about them at this moment. The people who had previously lost their qualifications also had the idea of trying their luck at this moment. Unexpectedly, at this moment, the hall behind them suddenly disappeared. Everyone was stunned, and they were somewhat at a loss. Just as they were in a daze, Zichen suddenly disappeared as well. At the same time, all the people of the Holy Thunder Clan and the Lost Clan around Zichen also disappeared. "Oh no, D***it. Ubutian was the first to react and shouted angrily, "Find him." Zichen appeared in the territory where Tasha was. Just as he appeared, Tasha also appeared. She immediately transmitted her voice, "Everyone, gather and leave." Zichen waved his hand, and the Zichen Hall appeared in the air and expanded. At the same time, the power of thunder flew out of the Zichen Hall and into the sky. The sky was attacked indiscriminately. At this moment, in the secret room, The Holy Moon Clan members who were monitoring everything did not have time to react before the monitoring stopped working. Everyone was taken aback. Zichen looked up at the sky and smiled slightly. He and Tasha had known each other for a long time. Tasha's concealment skills had left a deep impression on Zichen. Later, Tasha appeared and sneaked an attack on Zichen, but that was not Tasha's original intention. During the battle, the two used their thoughts to communicate, and at the same time, they worked together to stimulate the energy attack. That was the restriction controlled by the Holy Moon Clan. Although it was only temporary, it was still enough for the two to discuss the restriction for a short period of time. In other words, the last time Tasha took the initiative to appear, it was to remind Zichen that the Holy Moon Clan had various means of controlling this area. Therefore, when Zichen moved forward, he would deliberately whisper a few words and then bury a backup plan somewhere. This was to test the waters, because Zichen was not sure whether Tasha's words were true or false. However, when he came in the second time, he found that almost all the areas with opportunities had been occupied. Only then did he believe Tasha's words. After knowing that the Holy Moon Clan was monitoring all of this, Zichen was relieved. During this period, he even gave the Holy Moon Clan some options, but in order to keep this secret and compete for the last opportunity, they kept it a secret. With Tasha's order, the Lost Clan, who had already prepared everything, appeared one after another and gathered here. However, they did not leave immediately. Instead, they flew toward the periphery of Zichen Hall. Then, these Lost Clan members launched an indiscriminate attack toward the sky. The restriction, which had already lost its perception, was suddenly attacked, and its range was still expanding. During this period, everyone's attacks did not stop. The other Lost Clan members came forward one after another and flew toward Zichen Hall in the sky according to Tasha's guidance. The smile on Zichen's face had disappeared at some point, and he became dignified again. Even if the Lost Clan had been prepared, packed up everything, and could leave at any time, there were too many people. It would still take some time for them to teleport, so they had to hurry. If they were caught off guard, then the Holy Moon Clan would definitely respond as quickly as possible. In fact, there was no need to be so hasty, but Zichen had obtained the greatest opportunity here. Under such circumstances, the Holy Moon Clan, who had been waiting patiently, would definitely go all out. He glanced at Tasha, who was not far away. Tasha noticed Zichen's gaze and nodded heavily. Be on guard. Fight to the death. Protect. Tasha decisively conveyed 3 messages to be on guard against the appearance of other people around. Once outsiders appeared, they would fight to the death to protect their family. Outside the restriction that was under attack, many light spots appeared in the sky. These light spots fell from the sky and turned into figures. They were the people of the Holy Moon Clan. They responded in time, and the Holy Spirits, who had been ready, rushed over. A great battle was about to break out. During this period, those women and children of lower realms who needed protection the most were constantly flying toward the sky. However, their speed was not as fast as expected. Zichen was a little anxious. At this moment, the voice of the hall spirit, Su, was heard. Zichen said loudly, "Everyone, give up resistance. I will lure you away." As soon as his voice fell, he did not care whether the others would obey or not. The hall began to emit light, and streams of power fell from the sky, enveloping the people running below. The next moment, one figure after another disappeared. They entered Zichen's hall. Because they had been told beforehand, the lost all stayed together, and no one was left behind. After those people left, Zichen shouted, "Don't resist. Let's leave quickly." During this time, there was a flash of brilliance beside Zichen, and Xiaolei appeared. However, the moment he appeared, he quickly left. In the hall, the suction force spread and fell on the bodies of the lost who were fighting. Then, the suction force appeared, and one figure after another disappeared. Even though Zichen had reacted quickly, in that short period of time, dozens of powerful holy spirits had died. Zichen glanced at the leaders of the Sacred Moon Clan who were charging forward, and a sacred talisman appeared in his hand. "Everyone, we will meet again someday." Zichen also had a transmission talisman in his hand, which was personally refined by Xiaolei. After activating it, Zichen disappeared. Then, Zi Chen appeared above a mineral vein. Just as Zi Chen appeared, many sacred spirits around the mineral vein launched an attack toward the sky. This was to stop the restriction of the sacred moon clan. Xiaolei, who had been one step ahead of them, disappeared again. These attacks fell on the dome of the sky, causing the restriction to be stopped for a moment. During this moment, Zi Chen used the transmission talisman to disappear. The second time he appeared, Zi Chen came to the Blood Dragon Canyon. When he appeared, Xiaolei had already set up the transmission formation to leave. Outside the canyon, many sacred spirits attacked the sky, causing the sacred moon clan's formation to lose its effect once again. Zi Chen walked into the transmission formation, cupped his fists at Xiaolei, and then looked up at the sky. Everyone, I, Zi Chen, will take my leave first. Zi Chen left the lost world and returned to the sacred spirit realm. After his figure appeared, he did not use the core token to teleport away. Instead, he went to find the sacred sage, expressing his urgency to return immediately. Sacred sage Lei Di was a little puzzled, but he obviously respected Zi Chen's opinion. The spirit ancestor led Zi Chen in the direction of the Holy Thunder clan. With the sacred sage escorting him along the way, it was naturally smooth. Chapter 41-44. Chaos. Everything was in chaos. Originally, when he saw Zi Chen suddenly disappear, Yu Butian was still very confident because they could see any place in the world in an instant and get everyone to support them immediately. But what he didn't expect was that just a moment later, he received news that Zi Chen had fled the Lost World with all the native clan members. For a time, the Holy Moon clan was furious. For the last opportunity, they had made a lot of preparations and sacrifices. How could they let Zi Chen take away the resources alone? But Zi Chen had already left. Although the various resources of the Holy Thunder clan were still there, once they made a move at this moment, it would be a great taboo. The Holy Moon clan was anxious, while the others were confused and didn't know what had happened. Damn it, a bunch of rascals who only care about immediate benefits have ruined our plan. Yu Butian was anxious. Zi Chen could make trouble in advance because he knew about the prohibition of the Holy Moon clan, so the people of the Holy Moon clan were unable to support them immediately. This made him suspect that it had something to do with those people snatching the resources marked by Zi Chen last time. Zi Chen, the leader, had left the Lost World, so everything that followed was taken care of by Xiaolei and the other core extremes. During this period, Zi Chen issued a final order to guard their respective mineral veins at all costs. Once the mineral veins were lost, the managers would be held accountable. The core extremes who clearly felt the abnormality immediately took people out and personally guarded the entrance of the mineral veins. At this time, the people of the Holy Moon clan had already descended from the sky and were heading towards the mineral veins. After Zi Chen disappeared, the Holy Moon clan took this action and surrounded all the mineral veins of the Holy Thunder clan in a moment. This was the efficiency of the Holy Moon clan. It was a pity that Zi Chen, the most important existence, had already returned. The Lost World was in chaos, and the Moonstar was also not calm. As soon as Zi Chen left, the aura of a holy sage emerged and chased in the direction of Zi Chen. Lei Di, who had been guarding this place for several years and had not left, disappeared. The next moment, he stopped the holy sage from the Holy Moon clan. What does the Holy Moon clan mean by this? Lei Di looked at the holy venerate in front of him. At the same time, the bloodline ancestor, who was still waiting below, said, "Your Holy Moon clan is so shameless. If you can't catch up with Yi Ling, won't it be even more humiliating?" The second holy venerate appeared out of nowhere. The bloodline ancestor looked up at the sky like a child. "Oh, there's really someone who is shameless? Then go ahead and chase after them. I will spread your deeds and see how the Holy Moon clan treats their allies. It seems that the alliance of the four great sacred clans is nothing in your eyes. You can let go of it at any time in the face of small benefits." "Yi Mai, what do you mean?" The third Saint Venerable appeared and stared coldly at the Yi vein below. The bloodline ancestor sneered and said, "Can't you understand such a simple literal meaning? Do you want me to give you the route that Yi Ling took when she left? Maybe you can catch up with her?" At this time, Lei Di said, Chen has already told me what happened in the Lost World. If you insist on breaking the rules, then don't blame us for being impolite. If you think that I, Lei Di, am speaking lightly, then I will go find Lei Zhengke. I believe that he usually doesn't care about other things, but this matter is obviously trampling on the Holy Thunder Clan's face. He will also take care of it. The expressions of the three holy venerates changed. Lei Zhengke was currently recognized as the #1 holy venerate in the Saint Spirit realm. Not only had he lived for a long time, but he was also the strongest. The three holy venerates looked at each other and then retreated. As Yi Mai said, even if they had chased after Yi Ling before, they might not have been able to catch up with her. Now that they had been delayed for a while, it was almost difficult to catch up with Yi Ling. After all, when they received the news, Yi Ling had already left. The spirit ancestor took Zi Chen directly to the Tianwu continent and returned to his home. At this moment, Zi Chen finally felt relieved. To be honest, other than the Zi Chen Palace, he did not obtain any other opportunities this time. That was because he did not have the authority to know what he had obtained. Hall Spirit Su said that there were many good things, but Zi Chen did not see any of them. Let's go. After the spirit ancestor left Zi Chen here, he turned around and left. Zi Chen thanked the spirit ancestor apologetically and did not have any intention of keeping him. What he was going to do next was against the wishes of the Holy Thunder Clan, so the spirit ancestor had to leave, even if she had already approved of this matter. Zi Chen used the world's laws to block the perception of heaven and earth. Then, Zi Chen went to the other side of the world and took out the Zi Chen Palace. He first asked Tasha to come out. When Tasha saw Zi Chen's world, she said in shock, "So fast?" The last time they came back, it took a long time. Zi Chen explained. Knowing that it was the sacred master who helped, Tasha nodded and then called out some names, indicating that they should come out as well. Dozens of people came out one after another. When they saw Zi Chen's world, the first thing they felt was shock. Especially when they knew that Zi Chen had obtained the last opportunity, which could be considered to have lifted everyone's curse, they were all speechless. Thinking about it, at this point, what could they do even if they had any objections? They could not go back. Therefore, they were very serious in looking for their own place to live in Zi Chen's world. However, this forest ocean world seemed to be the same. It seemed that there were not many places to choose from, and there were many of them. Some places looked very suitable for living, but the places were too small. Zi Chen saw everyone's hesitation and said with a smile, "There are many of you, so you don't have to live in one place. What kind of environment do you need? Just tell me. For example, a leisurely place with mountains and water." Zi Chen pointed below with his finger. They saw a land covered by a sea of trees, and a growing mountain peak appeared. The mountain peak rose from the ground, and a waterfall fell down, forming a new river. Everyone was stunned. Obviously, they did not expect it to be like this. Zi Chen moved his mind again, and everything returned to normal. The river that appeared before disappeared into the ground again. Since they could choose at will, everyone had no worries. Tasha simply asked and directly asked for 3 places to live. That was 3 cities. Zi Chen nodded and said, "Well, I will help you set up a transmission array so that you can easily communicate with each other." Zi Chen moved his mind again and gave a few instructions to Jiano. The sea of trees below began to disappear, and a huge open area appeared. When the area was comparable to that of a city, trees began to grow from the ground, turning into tree houses one after another. All the tree houses were neatly arranged, and there were streets in between. There were even some storefronts that could be used as shops on the 2 floors of the streets. Jiano was very skilled in opening up cities. However, in the eyes of Tasha and the others, this was simply a huge miracle. The 3 cities were not exactly the same, and there were obvious differences between them, but they were all neatly arranged and orderly. Chapter 41-45. They were very satisfied with their new place of residence because it was simply amazing. In the blink of an eye, 3 solid cities appeared. Moreover, Zi Chen made it clear that these 3 cities would be managed by themselves and Zi Chen would not intervene. Next, it was time for the others to appear. In front of everyone, Zichen took out the Zichen Palace Hall and then enlarged it. One figure after another descended from the sky. During this period, Zichen arranged them into the 3 cities according to the aura circulating around them. Next, they had to adapt to their new life. After everyone was settled, Zichen asked, "Do you want to bring some more exotic beasts out?" Tasha glanced at Zichen and said, "Let's forget it." In fact, she also wanted to bring some with her, but she had left in a hurry. Moreover, she also knew the means of the Holy Moon clan. If Zichen entered the Lost World again, it would be difficult for him to come out again. Because they were fully prepared, the native clan had taken away almost all the resources that could be taken away, so there was no need to worry too much for the time being. After making arrangements for the native clan, Zichen returned to his residence. He did not remove the restriction because, judging from the current situation, it was not easy for the native clan to appear for the time being. After returning to his residence, Zichen poured himself a cup of tea and began to think about the lost world. At present, apart from the complete Zichen Palace Hall, Zichen had not obtained any rewards, so everything would have to wait until after the matter was over. Now, he did not dare to enter the lost world, so the protection of those resources was handed over to many core disciples. As for the statistics of the resources, it all depended on Grace's Lei Yu. Not long after, Jolena came to Zichen's residence. Looking at Zichen, who was leisurely drinking tea, she said in surprise, "You, the great leader, are so leisurely." She sat opposite Zichen and looked at him with a smile. "I will always be so leisurely in the future." Zichen poured a cup of tea for Jolena, deliberately not looking at the spectacular scene in front of her. Jolena leaned forward and leaned against the tree table. She smiled and said, "Oh, so the matter in that world is over." Zichen gave a brief summary of the situation. After Jolena heard this, she sighed and said, "In that case, the Holy Moon clan hates you to death. If you go to the Lost World again, I guarantee that you won't even have a complete corpse." "That's right, I won't go there again. It's just that I'm still a little worried that those guys will go crazy and attack those mineral veins." Zichen looked straight ahead and said, "According to their methods, if they use the restriction, they will take away all the mineral veins in an instant. Moreover, the Holy Thunder clan will suffer heavy losses because of this." "You think too much." Seeing that Zichen had no reaction, Jolena sat back down and said, "It's true that the Holy Moon clan is angry, but they won't be so bold. After all, they are allies. Occasional competition is fine, but no one dares to compete with the danger of 2 great forces going to war." Jolena looked at Zichen with a gradually changed expression. Zichen touched his cheek and said, "What's wrong? Is it red?" Jolena didn't understand Zichen's meaning and said, "They don't dare to do anything to the Holy Thunder clan, but they dare to target you. I believe that even if you are living a comfortable life, you will be very uncomfortable in your heart." Zichen said, "Who cares? As long as I'm comfortable, it's fine. Hihi, I'll just lie here and wait for the harvest." Zichen's comfortable life only lasted for 3 days. In the short span of 3 days, Zichen's deeds had been deliberately spread throughout the entire Saint Spirit realm. He colluded with the Lost Clan and framed his allies. He broke his promise and violated the agreement between the allies. He snatched everyone's harvest with despicable means and fled to the Holy Thunder clan like a mouse. Together with all the other crimes, he was unrighteous, unloyal, and unfilial. It's really shameless. At that time, Zichen took advantage of the fact that everyone was seriously injured in the battle with the Lost Clan to sneak attack the leaders of the major forces. He colluded with the Lost Clan and snatched the last great opportunity. "You don't believe me? That was witnessed by the child of my friend's third aunt and the nephew of my uncle's wife." He said at that time that as a member of the Holy Thunder clan, they all felt ashamed for Zichen. Because even if he had a little sense of shame, he wouldn't do such a thing. "Sigh, not to mention them, even I feel ashamed." The dignified Holy Thunder clan, which enjoys so much honor in the Holy Spirit domain, was ruined by Zichen. For a mere resource, he didn't care about his own face and even brought shame to the Holy Thunder clan. How shameful. If it were me, I would rather give up these resources than bring shame to the Holy Thunder clan. Isn't that so? I heard that in order to get resources for himself, he even attacked the Lei Jing family, and it was a sneak attack. That guy who brought shame to the Holy Thunder Clan seems to only know how to launch sneak attacks. Shameless, he's too shameless. This kind of news first spread to the periphery, then to the core disciples' residences, and slowly spread to the Tianwu continent. Zhou Lina was no longer surprised by this. Zi Chen had already obtained great benefits. Others couldn't do anything to him, so why couldn't they disgust him? Zi Chen's skin was also not ordinary. The more the matter blew up, the safer everyone in the lost world would be. As for going out to explain, that would not work. Because those people were clearly deliberately framing him. Their goal was to embarrass Zi Chen, so why would they listen to his explanation? If he went out like this, those people would only succeed. However, the story they fabricated was too vile, so there was a need to counterattack with public opinion. Zhou Lina could arrange this. As long as someone went out to tell the truth, it would be enough to let the bystanders see it. As for whether people believed it or not, it was unnecessary because there would be no interaction between the two sides. The bystanders would always be bystanders. They were just there to join in the fun. When the heat died down, they would naturally disperse. No one would really care whether you were a good person or a bad person. Another 3 days passed, and an edict came from the core city. It said that someone had sued Zi Chen for disregarding the Holy Thunder Clan's interests in the Lost World and killing his own clan members. Zi Chen went to the core city because the edict was issued by the city lord. As for who had sued, Zi Chen naturally knew. Recently, those people from the Holy Thunder Clan had been patting their chests, bitterly expressing their disdain for those who were of the same clan as Zi Chen. Almost all of them were from that clan. Zi Chen went to the core city and met the city lord. In fact, both sides were well aware, so the city lord did not say much. He only asked about Zi Chen's recent mood and health. It was mostly idle talk. He drank a few cups of tea here and then left. He went to the Sacred Talisman Palace to look for Fu Laro. Because those who had gone to the Sacred Talisman realm were probably about to return. Chapter 41-46. Seeing Zi Chen's arrival, Fu Laro said with a smile, "What's the matter? Are you out to relax?" Obviously, he also knew about Zi Chen's current situation. Zi Chen sighed and said, "The city lord is so ostentatious. Since he invited me for tea, I had no choice but to come." Fu Laro chuckled. "It sounds like you're still angry, but the pressure from above is too great, so you still have to drink." Zi Chen understood what Fu Laro meant, but he did not blame the city lord for upholding justice for him. He was just complaining. Sometimes, what everyone wanted was not justice. At the very least, the rumor mongers did not want justice. Because there was no justice at all. Fu Laro said, "You came at the right time. I sensed a change in another world. Those people seem to be returning." Zi Chen asked, "Has Fu Laro arranged a place to receive them?" "It's already prepared. We're just waiting for the Sacred Talisman Masters to arrive." After discussing some details with Fu Laro, Zi Chen went to Lei Yu's place. A portion of the resources in the Lost World had been transported back to the core city, so Zi Chen, as the leader, could get some remuneration in advance. There was a lot of discussion about Zi Chen in the outside world, and all kinds of rumors and slanders were extremely unpleasant. However, everyone in Lei Yu's place was very polite and respectful to Zi Chen. Because Zi Chen had made a great discovery in the Lost World, those who were transferred over were all rewarded handsomely. After he made his request, no one delayed and Zi Chen soon left with the resources. What happened in the Lost World that day, including some details, had been transmitted back. After the major factions learned about everything, their mentality changed. The Sacred Moon Clan could summon people at will, so they were obviously fully prepared. As a result, the matter of the resources being divided equally was a joke. The major factions even thought of an excuse for the Sacred Moon Clan. For example, the resources were still being developed and there was no statistics for the time being, so they had to wait for a few days. This wait naturally lasted for days and months. Therefore, when they saw that Zi Chen had even taken away the palace, not only were they not enraged, they even laughed. The Holy Moon Clan's thorough preparations had failed, and this loss was not small. As a result, their overall harvest would be greatly reduced. At the same time, there was also some information about Zichen. After reading the contents, they were all delighted. This Zichen was too unlucky. Every time there was news about him, he would either be hunted down or be unrighteous and ashamed to be associated with him. He had obviously benefited greatly from the Holy Thunder clan, but now he was being targeted by his own clan members. We're just here to watch the show anyway. Let's add fuel to the fire and make this matter more lively. After reading the news, almost all the major forces had the same attitude. With their deliberate promotion, it would be hard for Zichen not to become famous. Unrighteous, unrighteous, unloyal, unfilial, all kinds of unpleasant words, as well as the erroneous news, made Zichen almost an eternal evil. It seemed that since the birth of this world, there had never been such a vicious person in the world. Occasionally, there would be some voices speaking up for Zichen, but they would be quickly drowned out. In the end, there was a unified voice that if Zichen was really innocent, then he should go to the lost world to confront everyone. Zichen was not stupid, so of course he would not go. However, he did not expect that the news would spread so quickly, almost to every corner of the Holy Spirit realm. Perhaps no one knew Zichen, but they all knew that there was such a despicable and shameless eternal evil in the world. Asterisk 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 bulsh asterisk t. They're all F asterisk king bulsh asterisk t. Others may not know what kind of person Zichen is, but how could I not know? A monk in a kasaya said angrily in the main hall. This was a Buddhist hall, and all the people present were holy spirits of the Buddhist domain. Good and evil, speak with moderation. On the last praying mat, monk Shengjue, who was sitting cross-legged, opened his eyes. The other holy spirits were still resting with their eyes closed, as if they did not hear the monk's words. You've all heard it, what is this? According to the news, even if Zichen dies a few hundred times, it won't be enough. The monk said angrily, but I've lived and died with Zichen for many years, how could I not know what kind of person he is? It's all because of those shitty fellows. They don't have the ability to fight for it in front of everyone, so they do these disgusting things behind our backs. Shengjue, you've also seen Zichen, so tell me, is Zichen such a person? The reason why he called Shengjue by his name was that after coming to the Buddhist domain, the Buddhist Lord personally met the monk and accepted him as a disciple. Amitabha, according to this poor monk's impression of benefactor Zichen is very kind. Monk Shengjue put his palms together. If you don't care about this matter, then I'll do it myself. The monk said, as master's disciple, I'll clarify this matter. The other holy spirits of the Buddhist domain opened their eyes and exchanged glances. On the same day, a piece of news came from the Buddhist domain, which almost never paid attention to worldly affairs. Everyone in the Buddhist domain believed in Zichen's character and did not agree with the rumors. The Buddhist domain had a very high reputation in the saint spirit realm, and it had always been fighting against the demons, so it was deeply respected by all factions. Who would have thought that the Buddhist domain, which had never participated in the outside world, would actually speak up for Zichen at this time? Almost at the same time, Heavenly Evolution Peak also spoke up. It was a faction even more mysterious than the Buddhist domain, and it was said that each of them was skilled in deducing the heavenly Tao. The Sword domain dares to guarantee with our dignity that there is absolutely no problem with Zichen's character. The Sword domain also spoke up for Zichen. The Shengmo domain can also vouch for Zichen. The Shengmo domain can also vouch for Zichen. The Shengmo domain believes in Zichen's character. In almost a day, all the major factions spoke up for Zichen at the same time, all expressing their belief in Zichen's character. This caused an uproar in the Saint Spirit realm. Now, even the Holy Thunder clan itself had many factions that were ashamed to be associated with Zichen. Why were the major factions so far away willing to speak up for Zichen? Not long after, the Five Elements aristocratic families spoke up for Zichen. Although we have had some disagreements with Zichen, the Holy Glory clan still believes in Zichen's character. The same goes for the Holy Star clan. Then, two more holy clans spoke up. This shocked many people. How could this be? It was just a mere Zichen. What capabilities did he have to make all the major forces express their stance on his behalf? But what puzzled people was that many outside factions had spoken up for Zichen, but the Holy Thunder Clan had not responded for a long time. At the same time, the Holy Moon Clan was also extremely quiet. After Zichen heard the news, he laughed happily. He was not happy that someone had spoken up for him, but that his friends had finally grown up over the years and had a certain amount of weight among the various clans. Otherwise, who would speak up for him? It seems that you have all grown up very quickly. Zichen was very happy and gratified. He missed his friends a little. When this matter was over, should he go and see them? After all, he had not seen them for a long time. The Holy Thunder Clan still did not speak up for Zichen, but the major factions of the various clans had already spoken up, such as the Gila clan and other factions. In the end, the city lord of the core city finally made a statement. The accusations against Zichen were all made out of nothing, and a group of people who deliberately spread rumors were even arrested. In this trip to the Lost World, Chief Zichen should be credited with the greatest merit. In this way, the Holy Moon Clan had to say something even if they did not want to. Even if their preparations were in vain, even if they hated Zichen to death, they had to say a few words. The farce was over.